racing around the guys that are going for the championship, because you don't want to screw up and hurt their chances.
15 drivers in yesterday's race are in today's race. 9 drivers making their first Kansas Nextel Cup start. Round 3 of the chase for the championship is underway. The road to recovery for Casey Kane begins with 5 bonus points for leading the first lap. Battle for second between Johnson and Riggs.
J.J. Yaley did not get a very good start on that when the green flag dropped. That helped Vickers actually, though, get to the bottom.
There's Jeff Gordon right behind Jeff Burton. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8, Kyle Busch in the 5, Kevin Harvick in the 29. Jimmy Johnson trying to get second from Scott Riggs. And does. It's Clint Boyer in the 07. Vickers in that green car, the 25. And Matt Kenseth, another chaser, right behind them in the 17. Get our first update on car 17 from Dave.
And they're not sure they have the best race car today, Bill. In fact, right before the green flag, crew chief Robbie Reiser radioed the crew, and he didn't oversell today. He said, let's get it done today, guys. Top 10. They think they have a top 10 car for sure, and if they can do that, they are still in the hunt for the chase.
Yeah, Dave, Robbie was really quiet and cautious this morning in the garage, wasn't he?
And yeah, exactly. And he didn't want to oversell it to us. He didn't want to oversell it to his guys. And I think Matt himself knows if they race smart today, they could win. But on out-and-out speed, they might not have the car.
On board with Vickers. There's Matt in the 17 on the inside.
And you see already these guys are moving all over the racetrack. First couple laps, everybody pretty much runs the bottom. But right now, these guys are starting to move up the racetrack. We saw 2 good grooves yesterday in the Busch race. As you see the 25 car Vickers, he's moved up about a half a lane. He's looking to work that high groove. Matt, what's he saying?
Well, he's experimenting a little bit over the first couple of laps here. He's tried the bottom. Now, as you mentioned, he's up top. The car was loose, but it was very strong in final practice. They feel like maybe this is the day as he runs in that 4th spot of breaking through and scoring his first Nextel Cup Series victory.
Jimmy Johnson on the bumper of race leader Casey Kane. Very fast mile-and-a-half track here.
It really is. We saw the top speeds there. Earlier, I mean, you're 190 plus miles per hour going into these corners, and it's a very fast racetrack. You carry a lot of speed down in the corner. You don't use much brake. You just roll off the throttle. You're hard on the gas. You're flying around this racetrack, and you got 42 other guys doing the same thing around you. So, really got to be focused on driving a race car around this place.
Johnson trying to get the lead, Marty.
Trying all he can, Bill, and he told me a moment ago before he got in the car, listen, today is just very simple. Let's get the top 10, maybe a top 5, but I want to get some bonus points. I want to lead early in the race because I know that we have a fast car. My goal, take care of it early in the race because I'm fairly confident we have a car that can win this race, and there's some good racing in the back of the field too, Bill.
Yeah, this is only back at 9th. This is for 9th. That's Gordon in the 24. Earnhardt Jr. up high. Burton in the 31. Update on the 24 from Dave.
And Jeff told me moments before the race started that they wanted to, that the start of the race wasn't that great for his car. Actually, the start of every run. The first 10 laps, he told me, I've got to be careful how I'm racing the other guys. If they're definitely faster, I'll let them by. If not, I'll race them hard. Right now, Jeff has moved forward a couple of positions. That's good news. Matt?
The one thing the 18 feels like that stands out over the past couple of races, Dave, is much like the 31 team this year, not able to put together the complete package. They feel like, judging from their notes from final practice, practice. This is the best that they have been on the intermediate tracks all year long. This car, very stout here in the early going, AB.
Well, Jeff Burton's story is a little bit like Jeff Gordon's, but on a broader picture basis. Jeff Burton told me he wasn't sure how his car was going to be at the beginning of the race today, but they were really trying to anticipate having their car be the best at the end of the day. The sun is out, the track conditions will change through the day. They're hoping that their car shines the most when it counts the most in the final laps.
We're racing hard.
Yeah, they're going to have pretty hard. To me, that lap there looked like the 31 car of Jeff Burton was a little bit tight. You can see him go into the corner. It looked like that car. Oh, we got trouble off of 4. Robbie Gordon. Doesn't hit anything.
Caution number 1. Robbie Gordon with the spin off of turn 4. No racing back to the caution. When the yellow comes out, the field is frozen. And the yellow flag out for the first time this afternoon here at Kansas. Pick this up a little bit already in progress. Let's go on board with Michael Waltrip.
Looks like Robbie just gets a little bit high up there and a loose stuff. Gets a little bit loose coming off the corner.
Clear on the bottom. Yellow is out.
Probably won't be the last time we see that today.
Nice job by Michael. Driving through the smoke, staying out of trouble. Early at Kansas, Casey Kane is the race leader. You're watching the NASCAR Chase for the Championship on NBC. After 10 laps. The field under caution, heading to pit road. Just 10 laps into the race. Matt.
Driver 8, Dale Earnhardt Jr. says the car loose in 1 and 2, snug in 3 and 4. Tony Eury Jr. going to make a small air pressure adjustment in the right rear to try to help that, Marty.
A little bit of a surprise. These guys decided to pit 2 tires for Jimmy Johnson down half around the track bar. Alan?
Just 2 tires for the leader, Casey Kane. The crew chief, Kenny Francis, explaining the decision to stop and pit, said there'd already been a 1-second fall off in lap speed in those first 10 laps, Dave.
Matt Kenseth's car a little loose in, tight from the middle off. Wedge adjustment, 2 tires on the right side changed.
Been a lot happening on pit road. Jamie McMurray was in the grass at the turn 4 end of pit road. There's McMurray's car, and there's another car nosed into the wall at the other end of pit road.
Joe Nemechek was pointed. I mean, it looked like he was pulling in a garage.
So the field heading to pit road early here at Kansas. Here's our crew cam.
Dustin Stanley, rear tire carrier.
Field about to get the green on the restart. Ryan Newman is the race leader. Ryan Newman did not pit.
I'm surprised all those guys came. I was not expecting the whole field practically to come down pit lane.
And some guys paid a price for it because of all the traffic down there. 3 wide for the lead. Johnson to the inside, Kane to the outside.
Kane working his favorite line up on top. See what that 48 car looks awfully strong in the early stages this race.
And wants the 5 bonus points for leading a lap, and he's got them. Update on Casey Kane from Allen.
Yeah, just to go back and reiterate why all those guys came down pit road, Bill. Kenny Francis, the team director for Casey Kane, said that the lap time had already fallen off by 1 second in those opening 9 green flag laps of the race. They figured if they stayed out and guys in the back came and got tires, by the time they might have gotten a caution flag, they'd be in a lot of trouble, i.e. Ryan Newman right now.
He's going around, right in front of some of the chasers.
Right in front of Jeff Burton. There goes Gordon, goes around.
Harvick's in the grass.
But all these guys are okay. They didn't hit anything. As long as they get through the grass without damaging their front valence and stuff like that, they go easy. You see Harvick's already on pit lane. Denny Hamlin's also in the 11 car.
Yeah, he took
going down pit
the
lane.
evasive road to go down pit lane.
And Gordon didn't do any damage there to the front of the car.
Well, as Alan was saying,
I mean, he was loose. We saw that when Alan was talking, and he just finished it off right here,
right in front
of the field. I mean, look at all that smoke. When you're a driver, you cannot see anything. And Gordon and those guys just turned the car down left hard to avoid that wreck because they couldn't see anything.
Looks like Burton might have gotten a piece of it here. from the chopper upstairs.
Tell you what, Burton did a great job getting that car slowed down. And you see both Harvick and Gordon just turned left and headed for the grass. That was their safest out. Now watch this shot from the 31 car. This is what it looks like when a car gets sideways in front of you. That's it. You don't see much till it goes away.
Here's Harvick.
Now Harvick doesn't know where to go, so he just cranks it to the left, as does Gordon, and just gets in the grass, and that was the safest move to make.
So Jeff Gordon brings his car to Steve Letarte and company.
And you know what those guys did? I mean, they pitched those cars down that pavement. It still hurt the tires, even though they went through the grass. You want to just be real careful. Make sure that you got good tires on the car. And I'm sure they're going to do the same thing here, Marty.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick brings his car in. Wally, oddly enough, this is the car they ran at Michigan. Same thing happened to him early in the race. They ran through the grass. They damaged the valence that time, fixed it, still finished 11th, but there's no damage to the valence. They will change 4 tires. He said he's a little bit too loose, and the water temperature's a little too high, so they're going to pull some tape off. That'll help both of those conditions. They're going to check over the car very thoroughly, make sure everything's fine. It appears to be clean. They send him back out with 4 fresh tires.
See that yellow strip on the nose?
Right.
That's the valence that Marty is talking about. That's the thing that you don't want to damage. It's very, very important aerodynamics on a 1.5-mile racetrack.
Jeff Gordon has just left his pit stall. Some of the guys chasing the championship, dodging big-time trouble at Kansas. Less than half a lap from going back to green. An update on the 31 car of Jeff Burton from Allen.
Yeah, Billy came on the radio after barely getting through that incident, told his team he didn't think he hit anything, rode around for a second under the caution, said the tires felt okay, like he didn't put any flat spots in them from skidding on them, so they made the decision to stay out and keep their track position. And then the crew chief, Scott Miller, said, wow, what a great job you did.
And he did. Jimmy Johnson, the race leader.
Flag, green flag.
Junior.
Yeah, Vickers didn't get a good restart on that one either, and neither did Boyer, the 07 car. Got to be careful on the restarts. You can't let these guys in front of you get out too far. Real important. Stay right on the guy's bumper.
Reed Sorensen just brushed the wall. That's down the backstretch.
Scott Riggs in the 10 car looking to take a spot away from Casey Kane.
Their teammates. Sorensen has crashed in turns 3 and 4, and the caution is out.
Wow.
He pitted twice under the last caution period. Marty, what's up?
He said it's got a flat, and obviously you hear him on the radio, a lot of damage on the 41 car. They're going to have to take it to the garage. They had an excellent car yesterday in happy hour, top 5 the entire day. This is an early and surprising end for the 41 team.
Go back and take a look. We saw him creeping down the backstretch, and then it slides out from underneath.
Yeah, I'm sure the tire just blew there because he really wasn't up to full speed. Although the tires look like they're up.
Sure do. Oh, the 41 of Reed Sorensen back to the garage early at Kansas. 19 laps are completed, and Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. BC's coverage of the Banquet 400 is brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR. This is Budweiser. This is beer. By Bank of America. Experience higher standards and checking only from Bank of America. By Team Chevy and the 2006 Monte Carlo SS. Now with the legendary small block V8 and American Revolution. And by Banquet. Dave Burns.
With Reed Sorensen now, who has been working around his race car. I think just trying to take his mind off of what happened out there. He's already agreed to talk to us, and then he jumped down to have a quick conversation with crew chief Jimmy Elledge, and we're going to watch him do that. The guys are working hard on the race car, on the rear end of this car. Reed, can you tell us how the wreck started?
I'm not sure. Got loose in 1 and 2 and came around to 3 about half speed, and it started doing the death wobble there, out of control. So hopefully we'll find something wrong here with it, but it's hurt pretty bad right now. So we'll just try to get it back out there and do the best we can.
It must be very frustrating. A lot of people in the garage area talking about the 41 car and its speed today, Bill.
You're right, Dave. Very disappointing for Jimmy, Reed, and the entire crew. We'll work on the car, try and get him back out. We're still under caution here at Kansas. Did you miss that? Your day's off to a good start. Now, we gave it to Jeff Burton, but take a look at this. Still a half a lap from going green. On board with Brian Vickers.
Watch how long he's in here. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, over 100 miles per hour, not knowing where you're going.
And he comes out and sees the 12 pointed right at him. There's Vickers. Brian currently 11. Started the day from the 4th position.
Can't miss that paint job.
Nope, you can see that. Very green car, Garnier Fructis.
It's pretty cool looking,
Air
actually.
products, yeah. Jimmy Johnson, the race leader. Johnson led only 5 laps in the last 7 races and only 40 since the race at Charlotte in May. He has led 10 today.
Junior's on the outside of Yaley, and hey, what? Junior's been getting some pretty good restarts. Some of these guys sleeping on the restart. It's the easiest way to pass a car.
Scott Riggs looking under his teammate. Riggs low, Casey Kane high. Riggs gets second. That's right where he started. Kane back to third. An update from Allen.
Yeah, Billy came on his team radio during the caution, told his team director Kenny Francis that if they can run 50 or 60 consecutive green flag laps, his car's going to be really good. Right now, though, the back end just a little too light for his liking in the early run. Marty?
And Allen, under the caution, Scott Riggs, his teammate, and the two talked together and said, hey, let's work together, trying to get to the front if we can. For Riggs, he was a little bit tight on their one pit stop on lap 9. They made an air pressure adjustment, took the 2 tires, and obviously he has a pretty good car. They were a little worried about it early here in the race, didn't quite know what it would be. Obviously not too bad.
It's Kyle Busch in the 5, trying to get inside his brother in the 2. Kenseth in the high groove there.
Earnhardt right along. He takes the high line, and Jeff Burton goes down the bottom of the racetrack in front of them. Kenseth also in the high line.
Marty? No, Matt.
Bill Jr. took advantage on the previous restart when the 25 of Vickers lost his momentum because he had to check up. Also, a great restart this last time. Now, Junior now on the bottom. Before he was up top. Still can't quite get the race car where he needs it, so he is searching. A great stop on pit road by the guys, a 12.6 second stop. But it takes a good 15 laps for this car to really come in and start to show what it can do now.
I'll tell you what, right now, man, it looks like he can run where he wants to run. He just passed Matt on the low side, caught him on the high side, so he may be searching, but his car's pretty good right now.
Riggs up high, trying to get the lead from Jimmy Johnson. And Scott Riggs leads at Kansas. Riggs still looking for his first victory in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. We asked him if he's racing for wins or respect.
I think we've earned a lot of respect from all the guys. I'm happy the way most of the guys raced me out there. Everybody gives a lot of respect and realizes that we've came a long way from the beginning of the season as a brand new team. But we need a win. We need a victory. I think we're probably in a situation right now that we're willing to take big chances to get ourselves in the victory lane versus trying to be, a little timid about taking those risks. We're willing to take some bigger risks right now.
Missed the Daytona 500, got his first DNF of 2006 last week at Dover. Drives for Ray Evernham. He's got Johnson on his bumper. Marty?
Bill Scott's led 91 laps this year, 90 of them in this car. in one race, the Coca-Cola 600 earlier this year. And I talked to Scott about, are they on the verge of winning? He said, you know, I think we're close. I think we're getting closer to being a top 10 team. Remember, we missed the Daytona 500 earlier this year, so our goals have really been to stay in the top 20 in points. We've been able to do that. Now we need to go prove that we can be a top 10 team. The next step in that, getting a win.
Tell you what, some good racing going on right here. These guys have been running side by side. They've all been in just about every lane you can think of. That's Kyle Busch in the 5 car right now in 8th spot, just taking a spot away from Dave Blaney in the 22. Got Yaley there at the bottom. Mark Martin now in the 6 car right there. So some pretty good racing going on right here in this pack.
And while that sorts out, Bowyer on the move for second.
It's going to make a lot of fans happy.
From Emporia, Kansas, about 105 miles from here to second place for Clint Bowyer. Hey, Marty.
Yes, Bill.
Clint Bowyer?
Yes.
He's going somewhere.
He is, and he has about 400 friends and family here. That's more people than you know, isn't it, Wally? Hello, Wally.
Yeah, Marty.
Continuing our theme from yesterday. But Bowyer told me earlier, you know, I would love to win here in front of the family and friends, but I did so much activities with him this week that I was just ready to get in the race car today and go race the race. You know, I entertained people all weekend long. It was fun, but I was ready for today's race.
Bowyer trying to hunt down the lead. And I'll tell you, this could be a fun afternoon because this has been some intense racing back here.
Yeah, this has been really good. It was good to see the track coming yesterday for the Busch race, and now these guys are all over the racetrack. There's a 16 car, Greg Biffle in the 15th spot. He's trying to work his way through this. You got the 1 car, Martin Truex, down on the bottom, Tony Stewart, 20. This is all the top 14, 15 right here.
Right in front of them is Denny Hamlin, one of the drivers in the chase for the championship, the rookie with the big yellow stripe on his bumper, driving that 11 FedEx machine.
Oh, looks like the 22 is a little bit loose there.
Meanwhile, back up front, Clint Bowyer's going to try and get the lead from Riggs. This will be big.
Yes, it will. And I think he will lead that lap. I don't think he can complete the pass here, but
the computer agrees with you.
Again, and it's just that high line. Unless you can complete the pass and get in front of the guy getting off the corner, it's really tough here. Because the guy that runs a high groove on the outside has a lot of momentum. Now you see Bowyer working on the bottom, and he's digging, he's digging, he's digging. It'll be a drag race down the straightaway.
Bowyer did lead the last lap. Who had it, Wally? Come on, quick.
I'm going to say Bowyer had that one too. No, it didn't, Riggs. But look, here's where he needs to complete the pass. He needs to slide up in front of him, but he just doesn't have the room. So now the 10 car will have the momentum. It'll pull just a little bit forward down the straightaway. Now he's going to slide up. Now he'll keep it. And back in 3rd place, we've got a 3-car race. These guys are side by side, going after it.
It's Casey Kane. Whoa! Looked like Kane lost the handle.
I mean, they were 3 wide there for a second.
Jeff Burton, Jimmy Johnson, 3 of the chasers. Burton trying to make the move, didn't want to do it in turn 4. Side by side with Johnson.
Got Earnhardt coming there in the 8 car. And he's coming pretty fast right now. He's been running some very good laps.
This is going to be a fun afternoon. Racing all over the place at the Kansas Speedway. And right now, a native of Kansas, Clint Bowyer is the race leader. Full moves by the Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse, by Aflac, ask about it at work, and by Garnier Fructis Style, unleash your style. Sunny day here in Kansas City, packed house. Clint Bowyer is the race leader. That makes a lot of people happy. Let's go through the field, starting with Marty Snyder.
Yeah, Bill, all these hometown fans are happy to see that black 07 car out front on a beautiful Sunday afternoon here at Kansas. This car has finished 4th at Indy in its debut and 3rd at California. Clint said nothing on this run because he's happy, loves the car out front. Scott Riggs having a very nice run. Said he's sliding the nose of that 10 car just a little bit from the middle of the corner off. That means his car is tight. He also runs that high line, which they kind of set up for. Liked it a little bit better yesterday in practice. Alan?
Casey Kane started on pole, led the first 11 laps of this race. He's now running back in 3rd. He took just 2 tires on the lap 11 pit stops. Casey had some problems last week at Dover. We documented earlier. He talked about racing under the pressure of a championship and how that sits with him now.
I actually enjoy a little pressure. It's much better than on the outside looking in and not having any pressure at all at the end of the year. So I really enjoy it. I don't think they care. They perform under it, so they must not care too much about pressure.
Kane under pressure now, having just been passed by Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he's got Jeff Burton breathing down his rear bumper now. Matt?
Dale Jr.'s moved up to that Richard Petty line and definitely on the move, mirroring the lap times of the leader. Now their expectations coming in, about halfway through a run, this car would really come to life, and that's exactly what it's doing, just a tick on the free side. AB?
Well, Jeff Burton with the close call a little bit earlier when Ryan Newman spun in turn 4 at lap 15. He took just 2 tires on his lap 11 pit stop. He says his car lacking a little bit of front grip now as he tries to take a spot away from Casey Kane. Marty?
Jimmy Johnson running in 6th, trying to hang on a race car onto a race car that's fairly loose, lacking some rear end grip. But Jimmy knows, like we talked about earlier, 5 tracks, especially these 1.5 mile tracks left for him in the chase, and he likes these final 8 race tracks in the chase.
I think we've got a lot of good tracks coming up for us. At the same time, I think New Hampshire was going to be a strong race for us, and we just had some bad luck there. Dover's been a great track, and we got trapped a lap down with a pit sequence thing. So I really feel that there are a lot of good tracks coming for us. This is going to be a great track for us to get some momentum rolling. And what we saw in New Hampshire from the 48 car and the 100 cars in general, I think the one track I was nervous about, which was Phoenix, I think we're in line now. We're going to be competitive at Phoenix and really have a good finish to the year.
Jimmy trying to rebuild some momentum here in Kansas and trying to get back around his teammate, Kyle Busch. Alan?
Kyle Busch started in 13th position. He was one of the guys that took 4 tires on the earlier pit stop. You see him fighting there with Jimmy Johnson for the 7th spot. Kyle rather saying his car, the back end wiggling around a lot when he tries to run that high line, but he's sure making a lot of time up there. J.J. Yaley in the 18 car started the race in 5th position. He took just right side tires on his pit stop back at lap number 11. We talked about him having a poor restart earlier when Dale Earnhardt Jr. got by him. He said it wasn't him having a poor restart. Earnhardt Jr. laid back and got the jump on him. You're not supposed to do that laying back thing. Marty?
All 3 Gibbs cars, AB, having a very good day. Now Tony Stewart started in the 21st position. Wants to drop some air pressures on the next stops as the car is tight exactly in the center of the corner. He just cannot get the back end to unhook, but he's having a very solid run starting from the 21st position. Alan?
Solid run for Denny Hamlin, who took the green flag in 25th position. Took 4 tires on his earlier pit stop. He just called in on his radio and said, "Where are we running anyway?" They told him 10th. Matt?
Just outside the top 10 is the one of Martin Truex, coming off a great run at Dover. His career best finish of 6. Needs a long green flag run for this car to show what it can do, and it's exactly what he's getting now. It's just the car is good, especially on exit. Dave?
Matt Martin's car is coming around just a little bit for him early in the race. His car was loose going into the corner. They made a wedge adjustment, took on 2 right side tires. He's moved forward since the last caution flag. The 16 of Greg Biffle, forward 1 position. His car okay right now, not really operating the way he'd like it to. They made an adjustment as well on that first pit stop, took on 2 tires. Matt?
The 42 of Casey Mears running just inside the top 15, says absolutely no front grip at all. I'm the only one out here with that problem. He's asking, they're telling him nope. A lot of people are saying the track completely different from how it was in final practice. In the 66 of Jeff Green, he's dealing with a combo platter of issues. The car both loose and tight, trying to figure out which is the biggest issue to fix first.
Matt Kenseth restarted 4th in the 4th position. Can you believe it? All the way back to 18th. He said, I don't know what's going on with this car. I can't drive it. And then he said, well, listen to what he said.
The middle is a little tight still. You know, don't turn at all. Doesn't follow the tires to the center. And the exit, depending on how tight I am in the center, you know, we'll keep pushing. And sometimes it'll snap loose. I'm super low on grip too, Rob. If you guys get some air pressure on all the way around, that would help me. Just don't have any grip.
That is a lot of problems on the 17 car. We talked about them not being sure. They're going to have to work very hard to get that top 10 for Matt Kenseth now. Now, Jeff Gordon has been charging forward since the last restart where he was 37th. He is now all the way up to the 19th position. So Jeff going forward, no real damage from that spin down into the grass, according to crew chief Steve Letarte. Marty.
Kevin Harvick going backwards, Dave, just a little bit. Restarted 25th, back on lap 18th. Currently, he is in 19th position, and 29th position, rather. He said the car is tight off of the corner, but he doesn't really have any rear grip either. That means he has pretty much no grip out there. A completely different car back in traffic for Kevin Harvick than it was up front.
Thank you, gentlemen. 40 cars are on the lead lap. Kenny Wallace runs 40th. Bowyer continues to lead. And this is for third. Kyle Busch trying to get it from Scott Riggs.
It's like Riggs may have lost the handle there a little bit as we put more and more laps on these tires. You start seeing guys having trouble. You start seeing guys moving forward. Earnhardt Jr. up to second place now.
You can see the names in yellow in the ticker are the guys in the chase for the championship. But right now, it's one of the guys not in the chase. One of the young guys Wally talked about. Clint Bowyer from Kansas is the race leader on NBC. The field will be coming to pit road tonight at 8 Eastern on NBC's Sunday Night Football. Alan John with the call. A primetime showdown of two undefeated teams, the Seattle Seahawks and the Chicago Bears. That's tonight on NBC, and it all starts with Football Night in America at 7 Eastern time. Pit road should be open this time, and it will be a very busy place. And we saw some issues earlier when they all came down pit road. We'll see how it works out this time. Dave Burns.
Mark Martin's crew trying to do as little as possible on this pit stop. Just a 4-tire change, no changes to the chassis. Mark trying to win 2 years in a row here at Kansas. He's nearing the top 10. Matt.
Tony Eury Jr. going to shuffle the air pressures for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Slightly, has just a slight tight condition now. Newman is 31st. He will be pitting right in front of Jr., but Jr. has a 5-foot gap because of the camera at start-finish. Marty?
Leader Clint Bowyer's on the top of your screen. The car just a little bit too loose at the beginning of that run. A pound in the left rear tire, half a pound out of the right rear tire for Bowyer. Alan?
Bottom left screen, Kyle Busch pitting from third place. His car lacking some rear end grip on the car. 4-tire change, a track bar adjustment as well, and the race off pit road.
And there is the Nextel race off of pit road. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins that race. Nextel celebrating speed, teamwork, and getting things done instantly. Good job by the A crew, getting Earnhardt out there. Take a look at it. We talked about yesterday, pit stops were huge. That's how Harvick won. We'll see how they play out today at Kansas.
The 5 car was behind you. He was maybe the best car right there to get to that run by half a tenth. He run the top on both ends. Well, I ain't tried to top down at 1 and 2 yet, but I was moving the groove up in turn 3, trying to make my exit a little freer. So my lap times are probably all over the place there. Yeah, 10-4. I kind of looked like you was driving, moving around a lot, but I didn't want to interrupt you while you were doing it. So whenever you want lap time, just holler. But you're doing real good. We're in the ball game.
Earnhardt Jr., then Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Burton, and Clint Bowyer. Joe Nemechek in the 01 car, the lucky dog.
And sometimes you get a racetrack, a race car that you want to run one end right down on the white line, and on the other end of the racetrack, you're better way up high. And that's pretty much what the 8 car with Junior's been doing. He hasn't tried the top down at 1 and 2 because he felt like his car was pretty decent down there where he was running. Down towards the bottom, right where he's at.
Not a lot of lap traffic, just have to clear Kenny Wallace in the 78 ride. Teammates right behind him from Hendrick Motorsports, chasing the DEI car.
Guys all running the bottom right now. They usually run the bottom for a couple laps right after a pit stop. Get their pressures worked up and some heat in the tires as Clint Boyer takes a spot away from his teammate, Jeff Burton. And that is the 4th spot.
Pushes Burton back to 5th. Top 5 now, single file, led by Dale Earnhardt Jr. We saw yesterday how important the work on pit road is to being successful in the race for the guys at the shop and the guys that work on the car in the garage. Here are the over-the-wall guys for Earnhardt Jr.
Hi, I'm Tony Urey Jr. I'm from Kannapolis, North Carolina.
Sean Ward, Hickory, North Carolina.
DJ Kopp, Ontario, New York. Brian Chase, York, Maine.
Eric Wakeland, Plymouth, Indiana.
Greg Burkhart, Sheridan, Wyoming.
Jeff Clark, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Craig Lund, Mooresville, North Carolina.
Walt Smith, New Paltz, New York.
The pit crew for Earnhardt Jr. He's out front. And it seems like it takes a couple of laps, and then they really start racing back behind the leader.
Yeah, like I said, you've got to get some heat in these tires and get the tires up pressure-wise because they're going out low with low pressures. And the more heat you put in the tires, the pressure's gained and the cars get more stable. Uh-oh, we got 38 going around, coming out of 4.
David Gilliland, the rookie for Robert Yates Racing.
He's there. Stay left, stay left. All right, everything's cool, everything's cool.
Caution is out. Fifth caution period of the day. Go back and take a look. Running around in traffic back there. Hard to tell what happened with that angle. Let's go on board with Kevin Harvick.
So looks like he was just up high. Got loose getting out the corner. We've seen that a lot last couple days.
It's the second one Harvick's had the drive through today. Kenny Wallace is the lucky dog. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the race leader under caution at Kansas. Kansas. Kurt Busch, 5 poles this season. Casey Kane with the 5 wins, 3 of those from the pole. Matt Kenseth with the 13 top 5 finishes are AutoZone in the zone drivers for this season. Update on car 8 from Matt.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. out leading laps for the first time in the 2006 chase, but there was a lot of concern centering around the valence of the 8 car. Jr. asked his team to take a look at it because he said he center punched something that was about a 4x4. Steve Meal, a spotter, got out the binoculars, so the valence looks fine. Concern level now diminished here for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his team. Marty?
And Matt, there's very little concern for Jimmy Johnson, kind of playing it out like we told you before the race started. Very patiently, know they have a very good race car. Jimmy said the car's a little too loose right now. Can't quite put all the wheel to it that he would like to. That makes the car even a little looser. Alan?
Jeff Burton running in 5th position, kind of looked like he was hanging on in that first few laps after the last restart. Came on the radio, told his crew that he felt like his car was all over the place, but his crew chief Scott Miller told him, well, give it a couple laps for the air pressures to build up. I think I heard Sir Wally say something about that, and they expect the handling on that car to improve as that happens.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Wally. You're all over it. After the big Seahawks-Bears game tonight, go to NBCSports.com and check out the Football Night in America crew as they debate the hot topics of the week in an exclusive video roundtable discussion only at NBCSports.com. Field has gotten the 1 to go. Go green this time by Earnhardt Jr., the race leader, then Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer, and Jeff Burton, followed by Casey Kane, Scott Riggs, Tony Stewart, Martin Truex Jr., and J.J. Yaley. Jeff Gordon runs in the 14th spot. An update from Dave.
Bill, you remember at the beginning of the race when we talked to Jeff today, he wasn't too concerned about the motor issues that the 5 had and the 48 had the week before. Talking to the engine guys this week, Scott Maxim told me that they really haven't found anything in the 5 from last week. That's one reason why they didn't change anything in the whole program. They looked in their microscopes at their shop. They sent stuff out so people could look with electron microscopes. They ran some theories on their spintrons and purposely broke parts, but they really haven't found anything to point at from Kyle Busch's motor issue. And until they do, they're not going to change divulge anything. They'll stick with what they got, and Jeff hopes it'll be strong all day.
And Dave, we'll be watching the Hendrick motors and the Childress motors today as well, don't you think?
Quite a battle between the two, and we don't know what happened. Actually, I don't know what happened with the Childress motors last week.
Kevin Harvick said in the garage area on Friday he doesn't care. He just wants to get in the car and go back at it and get the points back. We're under green.
Kyle Busch got a pretty good restart right there. Don't know if he's got enough to make a move getting off of turn 2. Earnhardt's got a little bit of juice coming off of 2. It'll take a lap or 2 before these guys start moving around. You got the 9 car. Casey Kane went to the top immediately.
Imagine that.
See if we can make it work right here. This is where you get the gas, right? Coming off the corner. You just get a lot of momentum getting off the corner when you're up on the high line.
Allen.
Hey, here's something that Wally might be able to address from his driver's perspective. Casey Kane came on the radio during that last caution, asked his team director, Kenny Francis, is the wind going to stay strong all day long? He's the second of these top 5 drivers I've heard mention the wind as affecting the handling of their cars, particularly in turn 3.
That's very true, Alan. It was really blowing pretty hard earlier today, and it's gusting pretty hard right now, and you can feel that. When you bring the car down the corner, you can feel it moving the car around. And these cars are so aerodynamic sensitive anyway. When you've got a big crosswind like that, you can feel it.
Where are your go on board?
We'll see if he stays on the high side here. This is Casey Kane. I see the guys go down on the bottom, and he kind of runs the top. The guys right in the center of the corner, when they run the bottom, have a little bit more on the guy at the top. But when you're on the top, see the run he gets? He pulls right up on the 07 car. So the high line is really the better line if you can stick with him right, in the entry to the middle. Then you get to come off the corner really strong. Look the run he's got right here. Pull up beside him and probably make the pass here. Make the car work. The high side's obviously
where you want to be.
Yeah, where you want to be, because it's really hard to pass a car. Even if your car's really good on the bottom, it's hard to make the pass when you've got somebody that's running as good as that 9 car on the high side.
It's Clint Boyer in the 07. And the wind here is blowing down the backstretch, so that's where you're really going to be hustling. And then along the front stretch, you have a headwind.
Right.
Update on Boyer from Marty.
And you guys are talking about all the different lines, and yet Wally, Clint Boyer is committed to the bottom. That's where they made their car work yesterday in practice, also yesterday in the Busch Series race. They are convinced that's the best way around this racetrack. And the odd thing about the wind, it affects you differently in 3 and 4 than it does 1 and 2. It'll make your car maybe tight in 1 and 2 and loose in 3 and 4.
Yeah, and if you can, if you can get your car to work on the bottom, it's like Dover. Boyer's car worked really good at the bottom, and the longer you get into a run, that's where the guys that work on the bottom that start to shine, because the guys start pushing more and more, and they got to get off the gas more. So it's a good balance right there, but it's harder to make your car work really good on the bottom for the entire run.
Kyle Busch trying to take the lead from Dale Earnhardt Jr. Does it on the high side, maybe.
Yeah, he should pull this off here. Kyle's got a really good run, and he does, up on the high side. Kind of took Junior's line away going into turn 1, so that threw off Junior's momentum just a little bit, just enough actually for the 5 car to take that spot away.
Kyle Busch is the race leader. 2 tough weeks at the beginning of the chase. 10th in the championship standings, but first to Speedway for the Banquet 400. 85 laps are complete. Kyle Busch is the race leader. Time to sneak in our singular race talk question. Which Kansas, Missouri area driver will be the next to win a cup race? To vote, text the word race to 191 on your Singular wireless phone. You'll have a chance to win a first-class trip to Miami. Jeff Burton in that Singular ride in the 6th spot. Report from NASCAR Master Control is that they're checking the 32 car for smoke. There's your race leader, Kyle Busch. Earnhardt Jr. second, Jimmy Johnson third. The names in yellow on the ticker at the top of the screen. The 10 drivers in the chase for the Nextel Cup. 2 of those drivers having issues. Kevin Harvick is back in the 22nd spot. Matt Kenseth restarted 15th on lap 73, and 13 laps later, he's back in 26.
Yeah, he dropped about 7 or 8 spots, it seems like, in the last couple of laps. So these guys got to be careful here that...
Oh! Really loose there.
And that's different. How?
No.
I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I mean, Kyle Busch runs a car loose all the time.
But he can only save it so many times, but he's done a great job so far.
I say that all the time, but you're right. Once in a while, that wall's going to grab you. 24 has made a pretty good comeback. Dave?
Well, guys, early in the chase, Jeff Gordon was quoted as saying, you know what, all we have to do to win this thing is finish 8.7 every week, right? That's what the 20 did when they won their championship. So we asked Jeff again about consistency winning the chase.
It's all about going out and performing those last 10 races the most consistent that you possibly can. That doesn't mean that we're going out to finish 8th. We're going out to win. But, we know at the end of the day, if we can pull off, a 5th or 6th or 7th, and do it week in, week out, because you're not going to be able to do that week in and week out. There's a Talladega, there's somewhere along the way that you're going to run into some kind of trouble, whether it's handling problems, a crash, or an incident. And so you've got to have those really strong finishes to make up for that if that does happen.
Averaging out to about 8.7. And Wally, right now he's 9th, which is just a little more than 8.7, isn't that right?
Well, you want to...
How about 8?
There you go.
Okay. A little less than 8.7. Doing well right now. Said he was a little bit tight off the corners early, but the car coming around, and now he's going by the 16.
He spoke in the media center here on Friday about how hard this team has worked to get his cars at these intermediate 1.5-mile, 2-mile tracks much better. They learned some stuff from his teammates, but he couldn't drive cars with those setups, so they worked to try and modify things to make him more comfortable in the car for the way he drives and the style he uses. And it's worked out this year. He likes to roll the car into the turns and slowly get back in the gas. Right. Where some of these young guys really like a car that they can jump back on the gas.
Yeah, and it's 2 totally different feels in a car. I mean, and I like the roll theory. Right. You can roll the car in a lot faster. You have to have the car working so good in order to jump on the throttle when you're in the corner. And that's something that, it's tricky because a car jumps out on you a lot more if you're jumping on the throttle.
This is Earnhardt Jr. trying to hold off Jimmy Johnson for second. Update on the 8th from Matt.
Well, some shocked looking faces down in Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s pit, Bill. He just came on the radio and said the car is filling up with smoke. It's leveled off, but you may want to keep that in mind and may want to have somebody standing by. So there's a lot of concern down here in the 8 pit for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Just wondering what it could be, electrical or engine-wise, on this race car.
Well, we're taking a look at Junior right now, and we don't see anything that's very apparent. But sometimes, when you're driving a race car, your senses are at their peaks, and you can feel things, see things, smell things that, just a slight. It could be just a little bit of an oil leak or something just burning on a wire or something. You'll be able to smell it. You can also pick up something from the guy that you're running in front of you. So anything that happens when you're like that and you're a driver, the light goes off. And you immediately tell your crew just so they're aware that something's going on, and just be prepared, be ready.
And he had the similar situation in happy hour here on Saturday. We'll keep an eye on the 8 car. See what develops with Junior. Kyle Busch going around Bill Elliott. Elliott a couple of laps down. Kyle Busch in front of everybody in the Banquet 400 at Kansas. Childress won the race. 6 straight wins for Richard Childress Racing. Matt Kenseth was second. Harvick won the race off of pit road, then held off Kenseth for the win. Well, right now, Kenseth is back in 23rd and Harvick is back in 25th. Up front, it's the 5 car of Kyle Busch. Let's go through the field. Here's Alan.
And talking about the race leader, he just came on his team radio about 5 laps ago. Told his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, the car was driving really, really good. His crew chief asked, anything we can change for you? Kyle said, nothing I'd want you to. Matt?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. told his team back on lap 99, no more smoke. But he has lost 7/10 of a second to leader Kyle Busch. The car, he says the air pressure change made it just way too tight on this run. Marty?
Jimmy Johnson talking on their team radio saying we need to figure out something because that 24 car is coming quickly. He said I need to turn a little bit better to run the top. That's where all the grip is. Let's make an adjustment for that. Clint Boyer hasn't said a word on this radio the entire run. All they're doing is giving them the leaders lap times and the guys behind them lap times, and that's it. Keeping it still on the bottom. Alan?
Jeff Burton, a very solid 5th right now in the 31 car for Richard Childress Racing. Of course, Burton took the Nextel Cup Series championship lead with his victory last Sunday at Dover. So, Jeff, now that you've got the point lead, how do you race to protect it?
I think we have to avoid the bad day. Obviously, you know that goes without saying. But more importantly, we have to continue to improve. We have to continue to get better. We can. We're not good enough to think that we can just coast our way into this thing. We've got to continue to try to improve and make our cars go a little faster and then do the right things with them.
Jeff Burton has improved 5 spots from where he started in this race. He took the green flag in 10th. He's running 5th. Dave?
Yesterday during the Busch Series race, Steve Letarte, Jeff Gordon's crew chief, was interviewed, and he said we'd be good today on old tires if we got long runs. Well, they've gotten that. We don't need the heat. Well, it is hot today, hotter than yesterday, but they're handling that very well. And Jeff's driven all the way up to 6th place.
Kasey Kahne led this race in the opening laps. He's fallen back to 7th place now. Remember, they took just 2 tires on a stop at lap 11. Kasey came on the radio, told his team he didn't feel the 2-tire stop earlier worked for them. We'll see if that plays into strategy later in the day. Matt?
Big Orange running in the 8th position. Tony Stewart battling the same issue he has fought on the intermediate tracks all season long. The car just too tight when it tries to roll through the center of the corner. A host of changes on the last stop, specifically track bar, just to try to help this car's handling. Dave?
Good run for Greg Biffle. Started the day 29th. He's up to the 9th position now. Asked about his car at the start of the last run. He said, well, the takeoff isn't too good. We need to be a little bit looser at the start. Greg is a pilot, so I guess he knows about taking off. Marty?
Speaking of taking off, his teammate Carl Edwards for the first time today in the top 10. Finally made it there. I talked to him before the race. He said, you know what? I really don't have a car that can win this race. Unless we can make it better throughout the day, they have done that. A little bit too tight for Carl, but that's why he's running the high line. Scott Riggs has fallen back. Team is building a little more chemistry here in the second half of the season. Getting into the corners a little bit too loose. That's a new condition for him. Off the corners, no front grip. Matt?
Hovering just outside the top 10 is Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car. Issues at one end of the racetrack where the car just wants to roll over on their right front in the center down in 3 and 4. A lot better, though, down in turns 1 and 2, AB.
Denny Hamlin took the green flag in 25th position. He's running just outside the top 10 now in the 13th spot. He told his team that the car lacks a little bit of front-end grip coming off the corner, but overall it's pretty good. About 20 laps away from a pit stop. Matt?
Alan, same issue for Casey Mears in the 42. The car still too tight, especially after the air pressure change they made in the last stop. They're looking for around lap 123 to 24 to try to adjust on this 42 car. AB?
Well, J.J. Yaley, running in the 15th position, started the race in 5th. He told me before the start of the race he didn't think his car was all that great in yesterday's final practice, but then today was another whole day with different track conditions. He's hanging on, hoping for a top 10 finish. Dave?
Dropping back to, I think, the 19th position, we go to Mark Martin in the chase. Crew chief Pat Tryson telling him, go get him, driver. Mark's response, I can't get him when the car is pushing this bad. You sense the desire in his voice. The car just not there right now. Another car that's not there, his Roush Racing teammate. 23rd place for Matt Kenseth right now. Very, very loose race car for Matt. That's been the condition all weekend long. He radioed his crew chief and said, I didn't know we had anything this hard to drive in our camp. Marty.
Boy, the chase started out right for Kevin Harvick with the win in New Hampshire, but it has gone south both at Dover and here at Kansas so far. 26 right now for the 29 car. Kevin said on the radio, I don't know what we did to this car. I cannot drive it anywhere. Since they've been back in traffic, the car has been extremely tight. Kevin has not been able to make it back even into the top 20 since that early incident, Bill.
And you know, it just goes to show you, no matter how good these drivers are, you've got to have the cars right. I mean, here you have guys like Matt Kenseth and Kevin Harvick, 23rd, 26th spot, that are struggling with cars. Hey, I mean, you've got to have the balance on these cars. That's how competitive these fields are.
And that goes back to some of what Mark Martin said last week, that if I'm going to drive my heart out if I get the right equipment.
That's right. I mean, you're only as good as what you're driving. And, you know, all these teams are very good. They're building good race cars, but you've got to have good stuff. You cannot carry a Nextel Cup car. These cars are too hard to drive when they're right.
We gave you a top 15 through the field. There are 30 cars on the lead lap. NASCAR has asked Robbie Gordon to pick up speed in the 7. Kyle Busch still leads at Kansas. Go Dale Go by Advance Auto Parts. Wiper blades are now 25% off at Advance Auto Parts, and we install them free. By Allstate, official insurance sponsor of NASCAR, and by Wrangler. Kyle Busch, the race leader under green, and look at that.
There we go. He's going to put a lap. Kevin Harvick in the 29 going a lap down. And not too much further up is Matt Kenseth in the 17 car.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 cars, just about 3 seconds. .117 laps complete. Kyle Busch, the race leader. Time for the Singular Race Talk solution. How you voted. Which Kansas, Missouri area native driver will be the next to win a cup race? How to come out? Carl Edwards. Carl runs in the 8th spot. Clint Boyer runs 4th. And Jeff Burton in that singular ride is 6th. It's Kyle Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Boyer, and Jeff Gordon, the top 5. Strong comeback for Jeff Gordon this afternoon.
Boy, I guess. It wasn't too long ago. I looked down. He was like 25th or 26th. I'm like, what is wrong with them?
Well, both he and Harvick dodged the spin by Ryan Newman, too. Hasn't worked out nearly as well for Harvick. Back in the 26th spot. Now the first car a lap down. Tony Stewart around Sterling Marlin. Stewart in the 7th spot. And Edwards is a car behind him, right there in the 99. Earl from Columbia, Missouri, about 140 miles from here. You see the championship standings as they run right now. Gordon 1 point behind Burton. And now everybody within the 200-point mark, inside of 190. Not that far away from pit stops. Alan, what are you working on? Alan's obviously working on something. Understand we've lost our mics on pit road.
Looks like Harvick is going to hit pit road.
Most of these guys stopped last after the caution on lap 59. So Harvick had fallen off the lead lap. Is going to come and get fresh tires, make adjustments to the car.
Probably quite a few adjustments.
He's had his hands full.
He'll go to the right side. See the wrenches going in the back.
Make a wedge adjustment.
This looks like that thing was going in, so the car was probably loose. Good pit stop.
Matt Kenseth, another driver that has struggled here this afternoon. Bobby Risers said in the garage that his car wasn't going to be that good, Dave.
And it's not. They need a track bar and an air pressure adjustment. 4 tires for Matt Kenseth, then he'll go back out there. But he definitely thinks it's something wrong with the car, something they might not be able to adjust. 16 of Biffle on pit road as well. His race car was very tight. They'll make adjustments to Greg's car.
Hey, Dave, was the 17 car loose, do you know?
16 car was tight. They're going to make a wedge adjustment while he adjusts that chassis for him.
I mean, Matt Kenseth's car, the 17 car.
Matt Kenseth's very, very loose, Walt.
Okay.
There's the 10 of Scott Riggs, Marty.
Yeah, Bill, top 10 run for most of the day for Riggs. He said he's a little bit loose into the corners, but the problem is tight from the center of the off. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, trying to loosen it up just a little bit from the middle of the corner off. Alan?
Here comes Casey Kane bringing his car down pit road, was running in 7th spot before the stop, having a lot of trouble getting the car to turn in the corner like he wanted it to and like it did earlier in the race. They're going to take a rubber on the right rear side of the car, make an air pressure adjustment as well. He's all the way down in this first stall at the end of pit road. You see the crew watch under the right rear. Puts the rubber in, now the tire goes on. Matt?
There is a piece of debris on the grill screen, the lower grill screen of the 8 car. Also, you can see where there's been a hole punched in. Remember, we told you earlier Junior was concerned about that. They're going to make an air pressure change in the right rear. The car was too tight on that run. Marty.
Matt Karlovich putting on a good show for the hometown fans, driving up into the top 10, hits pit road, running 7th. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, a little too tight at the end of that run. They were a little concerned about the water temperature. At one point, it was 240. So far, a good stop going for the 99 team, Dave.
Jeff Gordon said, I need to be a little bit freer with my race car just in the middle of the corner. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment to help that. 4-tire change on up pit road. Also, Mark Martin, 4 tires of wedge. Allen.
The leader, Kyle Busch, pits. It'll be a 4-tire change with no adjustments. His car just about perfect through that run of the race, though it did start to lose a little front grip right at the end of the run. Nice stop.
Marty? Jimmy Johnson comes down pit road, Bill, and they said the car was loose early in the run, but tight at the end of the run. Jimmy said, you know what? I don't want to make too many changes to it, but we need to find a way to get more speed. Chad Knaus has decided, though, to make a wedge adjustment on both sides of the car. What he's going to do is go down half around both sides on the wedge bolt. That should help the loose and the tight conditioner from Clint Boyer pitting, and air pressure adjustment for a tight condition for him. Alan?
Here comes Jeff Burton to make his pit stop. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment and put the wedge wrench, or the track bar wrench in rather. You see that being done in the right rear corner of the car. Burton trying to help the handling of his car so he can get up there and try and challenge for the lead.
They drop the jack and he heads off of pit road and returns to the race. He's coming under green, 126 laps complete.
A lot of loose race cars out there today.
Waiting for the scoring to update. Now Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch, and Brian Vickers all stopped under the caution on lap 69. So they should be able to go about another 10 laps or so. So right now Ryan Newman is the race leader, but Kyle Busch runs 2nd. There's Newman in the 12.
And Kyle Busch will be able to run him down and pass him pretty quick here. Yeah,
like now.
So I don't know if I'd stay out another 10 laps. Probably you're going to lose a lot of track time if you're the 12th.
Pit next time, Wally.
Exactly.
Pit next time.
Exactly.
Tell you what, right now Mark Martin and Kevin Harvick find themselves off of the lead lap. Matt Kenseth all the way back in 25th. Chasers run 1st, 3rd, and 4th. Kyle Busch, the race leader at Kansas.
Carl, do your flip. Flip, 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 flip. Oh, come on, Carl. Oh.
Fernando, you're on.
Crazy old man.
NASCAR fans now get free incoming calls from anyone from anywhere. Next up.
You see him down there in the bottom. Last car. Sure what happens, but he sure hits the wall a ton. I mean, he hits it hard enough to break the rear end housing inside the chassis. and the springs are coming out, and it's a hard hit. But everybody just pitted.
Under caution here at Kansas, Kyle Busch is the race leader. Mark Martin in the 6th car is the lucky dog. Will be the 25th car on the lead lap. BC. That's the 25th place car of Matt Kenseth leaving pit road. Making a stop here under the caution. An update from Dave.
They're not sure what's wrong with that car, trying to find it, shaking the rear end inside the left rear wheel well. The only thing that I can think of, Wally, is if like a spring wasn't properly seated or something just wasn't right in that particular area. But let's go to some audio of Matt Kenseth trying to figure it out just before he pitted with his crew.
I wish I knew how to explain it. It almost feels like there's not enough air in the right rear or something. It just gets down in that right rear, spins out. I mean, it's just, man, I don't know what to do to it. I haven't had anything like this in years. That's what I thought. Maybe it's a gear or something. You know, even on restarts, the axles, I can hear them snap a little bit and stuff. So I just wondered if maybe we had an axle wrong length or something goofy. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something.
Something goofy, to be sure. They're going to come back inside. Yeah, they're going to come back in another time. They just changed the left side tires. They're coming in again.
So they can get it just like this. Okay, go ahead.
We'll listen to Robbie Reiser. They're going to jack up the rear end of this race car. Again, this is a championship contending team. Came in here as someone who thought they were going to be able to at least contend in the top 10. Now falling way out of that and just trying to find themselves with some points of note before this day is over.
Yeah,
Marty, go ahead, Wally.
I was just going to say, it looks like they're trying to check to see if something is loose or something is broke. I mean, normally when a driver feels that there's something wrong, like Matt's feeling, there's something wrong. So that's why they're really checking everything over.
Need to tighten it up.
And I think when they had the hammers out,
Dave,
you were right. They're probably looking at the springs and making sure everything was, you know, in the spring buckets, everything was in place. But Matt definitely feels like he's got something that's going on that's not normal.
Dave will check on that. Kevin Harvick has also made a visit to pit road. Harvick scored 29th in the 29 car. Here's our DLP picture technology race recap. Packed house at Kansas. Ryan Newman stayed out when everybody else pitted.
Look at this job these guys do, missing this wreck. Incredible.
It's on board with Jeff Burton. Dale Earnhardt Jr. had an outstanding pit stop from his crew. He was under caution. That helped him grab the race lead, and those guys knew they got the job done. And Kyle Busch got the lead from Earnhardt Jr. on the track. And after 135 laps, Kyle Busch is the race leader. Our DLP picture technology race recap. Update on the 29 from Snyder.
And things not going well for Kevin Harvick either. They came down pit road. We told you Harvick's in the car extremely tight. They actually changed under caution here the right rear spring in that 29 car. They had a lot of time. They figured, let's go ahead and do it rather than just putting a spring rubber into the spring. Let's change the whole thing and see if that will help the handling of the race car. Now, yesterday, they thought they had a top 10 car, but again, like you've mentioned a couple of times, Bill, the conditions yesterday much cooler than they are today. So the track definitely different this afternoon.
And they put a stiffer spring in, right?
Correct, Wally.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to get that spoiler up in the air, try to get that thing so it sits up on the racetrack a little bit, so it's not falling over and it's losing the downforce on the back. So that's the change they made. Hopefully it will help them out.
Michael Waltrip in the 55 car is 38th. He was held a lap for speeding to preserve his position on the racetrack. So a one-lap penalty for Michael Waltrip. We go back to green. Kyle Busch is the race leader. 3 chasers running first, second, and third.
Brian Vickers down there at 25 car. Love to get his lap back right now. Oh, a little bit loose. He slides up the racetrack in front of Earnhardt. And this is the most difficult part of the races on these restarts because you're low on pressures, your tires are cold, and especially when you're lapped down, you've got to drive these cars so hard in order to be the first car a lap down in case you get the lucky dog or try to get your lap back.
Kevin Harvick restarted 34th. Matt Kenseth is 25th, the last car on the lead lap. Mark Martin, who was the lucky dog, up to 22nd.
See these cars getting loose off the corner. All these guys are just hanging on right now. It takes 3 or 4 laps for these cars to start feeling like they're secure. Earnhardt way up the racetrack.
You're not kidding. It's too close for comfort for me. '25 of Vickers and the 2 of Kurt Busch not on the lead lap. They're racing for the lucky dog, as Wally talked about. Boyer in that 07 behind the 48 is 4th. Jimmy Johnson is 3rd. Earnhardt's in front of that pack. Matt, he'd like to stay there.
Sure would, Bill. The car is tight, though, and if you zoom in on the front of that race car, now we told you earlier he ran over something. There was no damage to the valence, but on the lap before he pitted, evidently he ran over something. His spotter, Steve Neal, says it did punch a hole through the lower grill screen. You can see in the upper left-hand corner. That's the big piece of tape patch that Jay Guarneri has already made. So next time Junior hits pit road, they will repair that damage because they feel like that is what's making Junior tightest the most.
Yep, you're right, Matt. That'll do it. If you see right over there, if there's a hole in the front of the car, what that does, that air goes through that hole and actually lifts the front of the car. It packs the air underneath the hood, and it makes the steering light. And by, it actually lifts the front tires off the ground or makes them light. So that's what's doing it. If they can put that patch on it, they'll prevent that air from going in the hole and packing the air underneath the hood, and it'll give them that downforce back. And it's not as noticeable now after new tires, but in another 10 or 15 laps, we'll be able to see if he can maintain the pace that he's running. Here comes Stewart up the middle. He's going to try to take a spot away from Burton already. And Johnson, go ahead, Matt.
Well, he just dove right through the middle there. The 25 car, who says his car is just horrible on entry. Stewart's car was not too great in the center of the corner. They've worked on it rolling to the center of the corner. They have made a lot of headway. He was 4th in Saturday's Busch race. Flew to Knoxville. Finished 2nd last night as we got a battle for 2nd. Junior starting to lose ground to the leaders. The 07 dives on the inside.
Thanks, Matt. And that's Clint Boyer taking that position. How long till Junior starts feeling that?
Well, he's feeling it right now. But I mean, in another 10 laps, 15 laps, I'd be surprised if he doesn't lose a bunch of positions because, right now the new tires are masking the problem. But as you put more and more laps on these tires, you're going to lose grip, and then having that hole and making it, push even worse because of that air in that going through the nose is going to be a handful.
Boy, Tony Stewart charging through the field, now on the bumper of Earnhardt. Earnhardt is 3rd. You look back at the battle for 4th.
Stewart had to back off the gas a little bit there. He had a pretty good run. Had to back off the gas. That was just enough for Jimmy Johnson to pull up in front of him.
6 chasers running the top 10. Update on the 48 from Marty.
And Jimmy's very good in the early part of these runs, but this is where he's having the problem. In 3 and 4, he said he just can't run the bottom. You see the bobble right there. He said the car's too loose. He wants to try to run up high. He said that's where all the grip is, but my car won't run up there either. So really, he's kind of a no man's land, Wally.
17 off of 4.
And another car is around behind him. That's Elliott Sadler.
A lot of troubles off of 4 this weekend, but I mean, if there is a good thing about it, they're not hitting anything. They're sliding down the racetrack when they're wrecking off of 4 into the grass.
All right, all your tires are up there, Matt. Everything looks okay.
Now, his right front is flat, I believe.
All right, it's uncontrollably tight to the middle and exit. Still real loose in that one run. What's the lap?
So he'll come in and change those tires. And I see Earnhardt come in and patch that front of the car because I'm sure he's feeling the handle go away. He doesn't want to come down pit lane, especially if the leaders don't, but he doesn't really have a choice.
This is on board with Michael Waltrip.
Yeah, we've seen this 4 or 5 times today.
Stay high. Yellow's out.
Where guys get up in that high line, getting off of 4, you're hard on the gas and you're turning the car off the corner and you just lose the back end.
Been a tough day for Matt Kenseth. Brian Vickers in the 25 car is the lucky dog. Dave Burns.
Hey guys, am I talking 17 or am I talking 24 pit stop?
How about 17?
All right, the 17. You heard him say uncontrollably tight, and so they're going to have to work on that car right now. Have gotten no more information. I talked to car chief Greg Ebert in between. I said, what were you working on in the back there? He said, a whole lot of stuff. Was everything tight, I asked him. He said yes. So the problem isn't something loose or not attached. The problem is
the squirted just a little loose getting in. I got to the middle. I just was ready to start touching the gas, and it just
that's the problem.
Spun out like there's no back tires on it.
That, of course, is the problem. You hear Matt right now talking on the radio. Here they come down pit road, Bill. I'll just keep it down here because a 24 of Jeff Gordon is going to come in for 4 tires. They're going to make very few adjustments on the 24 car. Jeff pretty happy with it that run. It'll be a slight air pressure adjustment for Jeff. No wrenches going in the car at this point.
Multitasking Dave here in the 8 pit now. Sean Ward, the front carrier, has a huge piece of tape across his chest. As soon as he comes around the car, you can see he's going to put that on the grill. As soon as the jackman goes around, they've already completed the wedge adjustment and they made an air pressure adjustment to try to free the car out, Marty.
Jimmy Johnson leaving pit road, Matt, with 4 tires. They think they're going to lose some track position here to others taking 2, Alan.
Yeah, Kyle Busch going to get 4 tires, the race leader. Jeff Burton down this end of pit road has already gotten just 2. So Busch came in the number 1 spot. He will not have it at the end of these stops.
Wow. Well, the computer says Clint Bowyer won the race off of pit road. Greg Biffle picked up some spots, and so did some other guys. We'll sort out the running order, find out who has 4 tires and who gambled with 2 when we come back to Kansas. Just 120 laps to go here in the Banquet 400 at the Kansas Speedway. And an interesting mix of strategy here. The number of drivers taking just 2 tires. You see Sterling Marlin headed for pit road. He stayed out to lead a lap. So the scoring will cycle back to Clint Bowyer. He took 2 tires. So did Jeff Burton. So did Greg Biffle. So did Kurt Busch. They're among the guys that just took 2. The 11 car of Denny Hamlin speeding, too fast entering and exiting. Martin Truex Jr. also got a speeding ticket, and so did Scott Riggs, too fast exiting. So Bowyer and Biffle, Burton, all with 2 tires. They run first, second, and third. Matt Kenseth back on pit road. It was his spin that brought out the caution. Elliott Sadler also spun. Partner BP looking forward to being with us next Sunday at Talladega. And when he is there in the booth, about this time on the race, he will cue the duck. So for Benny, if you please, our Aflac trivia question. Who was the only championship leader leaving Kansas failing to win the championship? Wow. I can't remember. Was Sterling leading when he wrecked here? Was he leading the championship?
I was going to say,
no.
Darn it.
But you didn't. Too late.
Say it. I think I had my finger on the button, but
you're a lap down. Jimmy Johnson back in 2002. Our Aflac trivia question. All right, some guys on 4, some guys on 2. 119 to go. Hang on tight.
I was talking about those tricky restarts.
Yeah, this would be one of them.
Yeah, because you got the guys who took 2. Left side's got temperature and pressure. Right sides don't. So it takes a lap or 2, and these cars are just, again, a handful.
Hamlin restarted 21st, Kenseth 25th, Harvick 29th. Jeff Burton runs 3rd. You're on board with him. Now up to 2nd. Okay, Alan, you and I and Wally debated it.
Yeah.
How about tire strategy?
Well, I will
tell you what our debate was. I'll just tell you what Jeff Burton's crew chief said. Said they only had 12 laps of green flag racing on the left side tires they took on the green flag stop at lap 126. They tried 2 tires earlier at lap 11. Their car held its track position. They took 2 here. They got in front of a couple of guys that they had been behind.
And we'll see how it works out.
Look at this pack here.
That's Johnson, Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch, and there is a madhouse behind these guys.
I mean, the race is all the way back.
Right here.
The back of the pack. These guys are 2-3 wide going into 3, as they are right now.
Earnhardt Jr.'s right in front of that bunch. There's Carl Edwards in the 99, Kyle Petty in the 45.
And they just stack up getting into the corner. I mean, you just cannot make a little bit of mistake right here.
Red and white.
And there it goes. We got a guy in a wall.
Denny Hamlin, one of the drivers in the chase for the next Tuck-Up Championship. The caution is out. The rookie driver from Virginia.
I had a feeling, but I thought it'd be at the front of the pack.
Got caught speeding, and that's what got him back there. Car doesn't look that bad, does it?
I don't think he did. I think he just got up high, like we've seen a lot. Got a little bit loose. Got in the gray stuff. If he got into the wall, it was just barely. Just barely missed Riggs in the 10 car. If he did miss Riggs.
Denny Hamlin has an onboard camera in that FedEx ride.
That's right here. He'll get loose. He'll catch it. Then he'll get in that dirt. Unfortunately, he did that at the back of the pack because if he would have done that up front, I'm sure there would have been more cars involved.
Scott Riggs on his radio said there was no contact. Unlucky for Denny Hamlin. Lucky for Kevin Harvick because he is the lucky dog and will get to come around and get back on the lead lap. See if that helps him out. Be 27 cars on the lead lap. Clint Bowyer is the race leader. 5-star finish right here at Kansas 2 years ago. Joe Nemechek in the 01, Ricky Rudd in the 21. To the line, Nemechek. This is his 4th career win, the only driver to win here at Kansas from the pole. Big day for the Army. Time for our Napa Field summary. 9 different leaders, 7 caution periods. Reed Sorensen wrecking early in the race. The only car that is scored out of the race. Our Napa Field summary. Marty on race leader, Clint Bowyer.
Well, Clint Bowyer is leading, as you say, Bill, but look who's right behind him. His teammate Jeff Burton leading the championship standings, and Jeff would love to get 5 bonus points if Clint will let him have it.
The easiest time to let Burton lead a lap, Clint, will be early right here because Biffle's behind him, and he can't come on, and he's holding the 48 up. So the earlier you can do it, the better you'll be.
I mean, I'm gonna try, but I ain't losing 4 or 5 spots doing it. I mean, if he's got some distance, I'll do it, but if he ain't, I ain't doing it.
Mate, you gotta love him. So he's gonna try to give Jeff Burton these 5 bonus points, but at the same time, knows he has a fast car, wants to keep it up front. And remember, this is his hometown race. He wants to lead all the laps he can.
Yeah, Marty, I was gonna say, he's from where?
Yeah, he's from about 100 miles from here, Bill.
Yeah.
So a lot of friends and family here, so they like to see that 07 up front.
How are you going to work that, Robert Dallenbach?
Yeah, I'm with Clint on that one. I mean, you know, if it works out, you look up in your mirror and Jeff Burton's behind you and you've got some distance between Burton and Biffle and you can get it done in a lap, yeah, go for it. If not, if he's got a mirror full of cars, no, I'm not going to do it either.
Alan, how about Denny Hamlin?
Yeah, if we can look at the right rear corner of this 11 car, Bill, there's a little patch on there. Not much damage. He got very lucky. Didn't hit anything with the front. Just a little wrinkle on the right rear side of the car, which we might get a glimpse of as it comes swinging around the corner here. But Denny Hamlin lost his track position, but they got lucky on the damage.
So you talked about how this track can be different at opposite ends. So turn 4 has been arch enemy number 1 today, huh?
It has. We saw it in the Busch race. We've seen it all weekend, and we've seen a lot of guys have trouble. And it's not like that they're getting hit or knocked around. It's just that they're getting off the corner. They're getting loose. A lot of guys just been. I mean, look at this list. It's a pretty impressive list of guys that have had trouble in turn 4.
And a lot of them are still out there. Gordon, Harvick, Kenseth, Hamlin. Elliott Sadler's had a tough day in that 19 car. Well, let's see how this works out. 27 cars on the lead lap, 110 to go. Kevin Harvick restarts 27th. Denny Hamlin 25th. Matt Kenseth 23rd. Remember, Burton wants those 5 bonus points for leading the lap.
And now's the time to do it. Let him go. Give him the line. And then get right back, because now you don't have to worry about Biffle right now. You've got to worry about Johnson. It's that 48 car.
Yeah. So I'm going to say Biffle's got some side-by-side action back there.
Now Burton will pull back right over. Once he leaves these laps, Jeff's going to say, thank you, take it back. That worked out perfect. It didn't hurt anybody.
Boy. Whoa. 07 a little loose. The 07 and the 31, they are teammates for Richard Childress Racing. Jeff Burton, one of the 10 drivers in the chase for the Nextel Cup. 2 years ago, the winning margin in this championship chase was 8 points. So those 5 points Burton just got could be huge.
Side by side, all the way back. These guys from about the quarter of the way back, they are side by side racing hard. Some of these guys are on the lead lap, some of them are lap down. See Jeff Gordon's in the middle of that pack.
Mark Martin's right in front of it.
Oh, Robbie Gordon way high. Getting up on the who's loose? Jarrett, big time loose, right above Junior. And that's the stuff you got to worry about on these restarts. All these guys are just packed. They're trying to get to the front. See, Gordon slips. He gets split by both Earnhardt and Casey Kane. I mean, it is wild.
Better inside, looking at the screen.
This really isn't that deep in the field. This is 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th.
And I really think some of these guys that took 2 tires right now are just hanging on for dear life.
And you would have taken 4.
Absolutely. I would have taken 4 tires. It puts you in a better position from this point on to the end of the race. I know some of these guys were doing it for track position, but I just think that the way I've seen this track over the last 2 days, tires is crucial.
Casey Mears wiggling the car back and forth on the front stretch.
'24 is back there at about 10th. Oh, got a Kyle Busch.
That's Johnson in 2nd, Kyle Busch in 3rd, Burton in 4th.
Go again. See Carl Edwards in the 99 car basically taking it down on the apron, trying to get through these guys. They're carefully aggressive. That's what you have to be in this mess.
Good luck. There's Harvick and Matt Kenseth, 2 of the drivers in the chase. They are 19th and 20th, or thereabouts, in that pack. Dave on Kenseth.
Still working on that race car, Bill, keeping it on the lead lap. Put some spring rubbers in the car on this last stop. 2 in the right rear, 1 in the left rear, trying to make that thing handle for Matt. Remember, spinning out that last time, saying the car was so tight, it was out of control.
On board with Harvick, Marty.
Bill, remember we told you lap 133 they came in, they changed the right rear spring. They have since stopped at lap 146, 155. So Kevin is on 4 fresh tires here. He said, I'm hanging on to it, but it's way better. Richard Childress came back on the radio, said you're doing a great job, and don't you ever give up on this race. In 18th right now.
Right behind Tony Raines right there. Got Raines a little bit loose. Here he's on the inside of Tony. And Harvick having to just pick his way through this traffic. 66 car. Jeff Green goes by him.
We're trying to.
Hear him playing with the pedal? Yep, he can. He gets after the gas, and then he backed off just a little bit.
Up front.
Johnson trying to take it away from Boyer. Looks like he's going to do it. Jimmy Johnson goes to the front.
That would be 4 tires, passing 2 tires. Marty?
Indeed, Bill, that's your 4 tires versus your 2 tires right there. And Chad can now say there's really no decision here in my book. What we've got to do is we got to take 4 tires on this stop. We'll lose some on pit road, but we'll gain it back on the racetrack. Early in the run, Jimmy is excellent. This is a chance to pull away from the rest of the field. Late in the run, though, 48 car gets a little too tight.
That's the strategy Wally was talking about. Taking 4 now. Be a faster car. We'll see how it plays out. 167 laps.
Sooner.
The caution is out for Clint Boyer. Took 2 tires after his last pit stop. On his last pit stop, and this is what just happened moments ago.
I wish I had 4. Ouch. That's just enough damage just to ruin your day. I mean, they'll get it fixed and run again, but the car won't be anything like it was, handling wise.
And he was in 2nd place behind Jimmy Johnson. David Gilliland in the 38 car is the lucky dog. He'll come around to the 27th car scored on the lead lap. Boyer, not the happy homecoming, Marty.
Well, not so good, Bill. And he didn't say a word about the accident. All he did was describe the damage to everyone. Obviously, left rear damage. And Wally, that was a good description. It's just enough to really ruin their day. Down the left side, they're going to have to make a couple of trips to fix this damage, or maybe even go to the garage and do some significant repairs, because right now they can't get any fuel in the car. The fuel filler neck is bent. So a lot of work to go in the 07. Clearly a car that maybe could have won this race, but it won't happen today. Dave?
Marty, earlier today, Mark Martin complained about his car. It's worse than anything I've ever driven. This pit stop, 4 tires, no changes. They've made a lot, and it's coming around, Matt.
In the middle of your screen, Tony Stewart chasing his first Kansas victory for the 2nd straight stop. No changes to the Home Depot Chevrolet. Says the car's a tick on the free side, but good, Marty.
Leader Jimmy Johnson on the top of your screen said the car is just a little bit loose, a very slight air pressure adjustment, trying to help it early in the run specifically. Alan?
Kyle Busch said he needed more grip because he couldn't charge the corners like some of those he was trying to race against. The 4 tire change and a chassis adjustment and a heavy race off pit road.
Boy, a lot of traffic down there. There you see Casey Kane and Jeff Burton finally away. Clint Boyer brings out the caution. Had led 58 laps all season, then led 43 today, but he's been in the wall. 175 laps are complete in the Banquet 400 at the Kansas Speedway. Carl Edwards with a 2-tire stop under the caution is the race leader down the pit road. Here's Dave.
Pat Trice is Mark Martin's crew chief. Earlier, worse than anything I've ever driven. Down a lap, lucky dog. What did you do to the race car? Because he's pretty happy now.
Yeah, he's pretty happy. You know, we were a little bit too tight that run. A little free when we started the race, and we just freed it up a little bit, and it's pretty good up there. You know, cleaner air helps too, so we'll see what happens with the AAA Ford Fusion. Hopefully we can go up there and get a win, but it's running pretty good right now.
Being out front always helps, guys.
Drivers have a tendency. We exaggerate sometimes just to get attention. So they made the right. Pat understood that and made the right call.
Thanks for admitting that. Hey, next Saturday on NBC, the Fighting Irish take on Stanford, 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific. Notre Dame a 35-21 win over Purdue yesterday. Brady Gwynn and company look to get the Irish offense moving. Stanford, Notre Dame, presented by Dell, next Saturday, 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific on NBC.
Because I tell people how great you are in the booth, too, so.
Thanks, Wally.
Where that's going.
Glad you're there for me, partner. Benny, hurry back. Carl Edwards, the race leader. And that 20 car, that orange thing right there is pretty darn fast.
And he also has 4 tires.
Look at Earnhardt Jr. on the outside of Gordon back there, 3 wide.
Gordon's going to want to be there long. I think Junior, I thought he was going to give him some room, but now he's got it open down on the bottom. Edwards got a nice jump there. Wow, Scott Ricks falling through the field. What a mess. Look at that. 4 wide. Oh. That 10 car, I don't know what happened, but he was up there on the bottom of the lower line on that restart, and I mean, they were splitting them down the backstretch. Meantime, Jimmy Johnson has got to run. Couldn't get up on the high side of the 20 car. But in the meantime, Kyle Busch takes a spot from Stewart and Jimmy Johnson. Slides up the racetrack. Jimmy Johnson's got to get off the throttle because he saw Kyle sliding up the track. And everybody breathes.
Except for these guys. Earnhardt in the 8. Kane in the 9. There's 7 cars on the lead lap. Clint Boyer, who brought out the last caution, the 27th car, last one on the lead lap. These guys are battling for second. Depends on when you look at it, who's got it. Alan?
Hey, Bill and Wally, do you remember a time when this racetrack was criticized as being a one-lane racetrack?
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't pass on it? Look at this. Talk about what a few years aging on a racing surface will make, huh?
Makes a big difference. This has turned into a great racetrack. When you see 2 or 3 lines like this, these guys racing 2, 3 abreast on a 1.5-mile racetrack. It took a while, but it's worth it.
And it's only going to get better. Jimmy Johnson for second around Kyle Busch. They're stalking the race leader, the 99 of Carl Edwards.
Yeah, these guys need just to get it sorted out and quit racing each other, and they'll be able to pass the 99. Kyle Busch getting loose there.
2 tires for Carl, 4 tires for the rest of these guys.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I didn't think it was going to take very long. That guy's in the back. Newman goes around.
Second time today for him. Caution is out. And we're going to probably have a little debate here as to the race leader. There are 12 scoring loops around the track. NASCAR will use those
Right away, we're left side.
to determine who the race leader was when the caution came out.
You see the 12 up on the high side, just loses it. The car twitches just a little bit. He saved it, then got up in that high line, and the back came around.
His Penske teammate Kurt Busch is the lucky dog. He will come around, be the 28th car on the lead lap. And we have been told that NASCAR has warned the 99 car about his restart. And that's all the information we have.
Probably may have jumped it a little bit.
And here it is. They said it wasn't clean, and it looks like, you know, you're in the vicinity of the markings on the wall.
Looked clean for him. It didn't look clean for some of the other guys. But
the computer and the car say Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. We'll check that out when we come back to Kansas. From Texas Instruments. HD TV doesn't get any more real than this. By FedEx. Every day is race day. By Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Call 1-800-RENT-A-CAR. Pick Enterprise, will pick you up. And by Banquet. Just a beautiful day here in Kansas City. The place is packed. They have seen an outstanding race. Just 84 laps to go. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. And these 2 cameras are synced up to when the caution came out and when the pass for the lead happened. So Newman goes around. Johnson had the lead. It reverts to the most recently passed scoring marker. There are 12 loops around the track, and that's how Jimmy Johnson got the race lead from Carl Edwards. So it's Johnson, Edwards, Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart, Greg Biffle. Then Mark Martin, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane, and Jeff Gordon. There are 7 chasers in the top 10. And every driver from 6th through 10th.
Is that Kevin Harvick in 12th?
Yes.
Nice turnaround.
Yeah, we were watching him come through when he finally got back on the lead lap and did some work on him. Got him hooked up, and he's on the move. Marty?
And Bill, can you believe it? Here they are in 12th, as Wally said. What haven't you changed on this car today, Todd Barrier?
I'll tell you what, we've changed a fair amount of things. We started out and didn't run long enough to really know how we were, and ended up getting that little spin out there. Lost all the track position and kind of blamed the characteristics of the car on track position too long instead of getting after the thing. And so obviously we've been on it hard, but now the last few stops we hadn't changed anything but air pressure. So hopefully we've got it close enough now to we can get up here and contend for a top 5 finish.
Again, to reiterate, on lap 133, they changed the right rear spring in this car, and since then, Kevin's been extremely happy with it.
That's how you win championships, Marty. Can't ever give up. These guys were all over it. There goes Earnhardt again. Trying to get the high side of Burton, but
28 cars on the lead lap.
Kyle Busch and 5 cars going to make short order of the 99. Carl Edwards, as he goes to second, goes after Johnson.
Stewart trying to clear the lap traffic on the inside. So Hendrick cars run first and second. And it's Roush, Gibbs, and the 16 of Greg Biffle on the move.
Biffle in 5th spot right there. And yet the 22 car, Dave Blaney, that's there, is a lap down. Dave, Biffle looks like he's running pretty good.
He's been pretty racy today, Wally. Last pit stop, his car was very, very loose. That was his complaint. They did make a chassis adjustment to give him 4 fresh tires, but there was a point in the race where they took 2 tires 2 times in a row when no one else did and gained track position both times. Basically came out with 4 fresh tires, but moved the car forward on pit road.
Well, Biffle's in a good situation because the beehive of activity is behind him. Right about there it starts. Earnhardt, Casey Kane, the 96. Tony's a lap down, that 96 car. Burton on Earnhardt's bumper. Matt.
Junior pinned on the outside, trying to work his way around that 96. Junior says, I just feel like I have no spring in it. The car just so loose on exit. That's where he wants Tony Jr. to try to fix the car on their next stop. AB?
Well, Casey Kane is just not really happy at all with the way his car has been handling lately. Talked about it being all over the racetrack. They talked extensively under that last caution about some of the adjustments they've made today. Casey and his team director, Kenny Francis, they've only got one more crack at this thing on pit road to try and turn it into a winning car. And right now, they're scratching their heads a little bit.
That's a dangerous place right there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just getting back to the 8 car. I'm just wondering if, they were fighting that push, and I'm wondering if they made any adjustments for that push other than putting tape on it, because now they're loose. Now they've buttoned that hole down, which is going to create all that down. They're going to get all that downforce back on the front.
Report from pit road is they did make a chassis adjustment and an air pressure adjustment to try and work with that.
Whoa, Earnhardt slips off the corner a little bit. Casey Mears in the 42 car all the way to the apron to avoid a wreck and passes a couple of guys in the meantime. Looks like Robbie Gordon, the 7 car, he's been hanging on all day. Robbie's a couple laps down in that 7 car. Casey Kane on the roof of Casey Kane's car. You see right behind Casey is Jeff Gordon.
And a few cars behind that, you'll find Mark Martin. So Mark didn't have a very good restart. Harvick has lost 1 spot from 12th to 13th. Gordon 10th last time by, surrounded by a few of his friends. Dave?
Stayed out on this last caution period, Bill, but the time before made a track bar and an air pressure adjustment to fix a loose race car. He radioed back just on the short run they had. That really fixed the loose entry. The exit is still not where Jeff wants it, but they're pretty close. And at this point, with maybe one more pit stop to go, that's what you want to have. Your car very close to dialed in for a quick pit stop for the final one of the day.
75 laps to go. There you see the championship standings as they run right now. And that Casey Mears in that 42 car is in 7th right now. Earnhardt's going to try and take that away, so a good run for Mears. How about it, Matt? Good run for the Mears gang.
Very solid day for the Mears gang today. And earlier on in the race, the car, he said, was wrecking loose, but also tight. They progressively worked on that car throughout much of the race. In fact, the last stop, they didn't make any adjustments. Just motoring right along, having a very good day. 8 races left till he leaves the 42 to go to the 25 at Hendrick Motorsports. He'd love to put this Ganassi car in victory lane, score his first points-paying win in the Nextel Cup, and leave on a good note.
Almost put it in the wall there.
Yes, he did. Earnhardt's going to take the position. This is for 7th. Then it's Mears, and then Gordon in 9th.
Yeah, he had to get off the gas to save that car just a little bit, and lost a little bit of momentum. Enough for, we got trouble? No.
Over in turn 2.
Yeah, we do.
J.J. Yaley in the middle of the track. You can see the damage to the car. And this is...
Torn up bad. Flat spotted all the tires.
And this is going to be very interesting, because right now there are 72 laps to go. The outside of the fuel window around 65 or so.
Yeah, Yaley looked like on the inside of the 40 of Stremme. He was... You can't run 2 cars going into the corner that close to each other, because the guy on the bottom is going to lose the downforce on the back of his car. And that's what happened with Yaley. He went in the corner. He was too close to the 40. He got sideways, ran into the 40, and they both wrecked. Although the 18 wrecked a lot worse.
Yes, 11th caution of the day. The 22 car of Dave Blaney will be the lucky dog. He'll come around and be the 29th car on the lead lap, just outside the edge of the fuel window to reach the finish. But this will probably be your last crack, or could be, at making any adjustments. We talked about how important pit stops are here at Kansas. Yesterday in the Busch race, a 300-mile event here, it determined the outcome. The leaders head for pit road. This will be big, Dave.
And Biffle's crew was deciding whether or not to pit. They're definitely going to do it now. 4 tires. They cannot go to the end on fuel from here, so there will be another stop. That would be the time that they would try to win on strategy and take only 2. Matt
Stewart, 4th on Saturday. The Busch race currently 4th. And he says the car is a little too free from center exit. Maybe small air pressure adjustment. No communication on the radio, though. Close battle between he and the 16. Marty.
Leader Jimmy Johnson, top of the screen in that 48 car, and I mean on the edge of the fuel window, just a little bit short, half pound in the right rear tire, a little tight, Alan.
Middle of the screen, Kyle Busch pitting from 2nd spot. A late call as to whether it be 2 or 4 tires. This was a 4-tire stop. Let's see how it shakes out off the pit lane.
Jimmy Johnson wins the race off of pit road. The inside of 70 to go when we go back to green. Jimmy Johnson wins the race off of pit road. Not that far away from finding out who's going to win the Banquet 400 at Kansas on NBC. 1 to go signal here at Kansas. 198 laps are complete in the Banquet 400. Big day of sports here on NBC. Later today, we'll go to Chicago. Tonight, 8 Eastern on NBC. Sunday Night Football. Al Michaels, John Madden with the call. A couple of undefeated teams, Seattle Seahawks, Chicago Bears. And after and before the big game, catch up on all the day's action with Bob, Chris Sterling, and the bus at 7 Eastern on Football Night in America. I think I see your seat there, Wally.
The seats look expensive. They haven't sold many for this game.
It'll be packed tonight, just like this place is this afternoon. A moment ago, Jimmy Johnson talking to car owner Rick Hendrick.
Hey, buddy, is it as wild as it looks out there? A couple of moments. It's been pretty hairy, boss. Glad all the race cars are straight.
Man, I saw the 5 sitting up there letting everybody go. He's been penalized for too fast exiting pit lane. That's you know, pits. We talked about mistakes on pit lane.
Denny Hamlin did it earlier, ended up wrecking.
That includes the drivers. Got to be careful on the pit road speed because they will nail you.
68 to go.
Whoa.
Really got jammed up there. Biffle in the 16, challenging Jimmy Johnson for the lead. Falls in behind. Biffle a pick of many to contend for the championship this year. Finished tied for second last year, 35 points behind Tony Stewart in the championship standings. Didn't even make the chase this season, but now trying to take the lead from Johnson.
That's pretty strong. He drove that thing in pretty deep. See if he can hold the 48 off.
Right behind them, the battle for third.
Got Earnhardt on the bottom, trying to take the spot away from Stewart. But in the meantime, you got Jeff Burton now on the high side of Earnhardt and trying to take that spot away.
And Carl Edwards wants a piece of it too. Earnhardt trying to squeeze inside of Burton.
Yeah, well, I think he's trying to get Burton a little bit loose there.
We watch this, get an update on Kyle Busch from Allen.
Hey, just an update on Kyle Busch. Very, very late word coming that he had been penalized on that. So he was just dropping back into traffic as they were getting ready to come to the green. He dropped from second position on that restart all the way back to 28th. And the crew down here, particularly crew chief Alan Gustafson, taking it very calmly, at least visibly. But you know there are going to be some tempers a little bit hot down here.
I mean,
yes.
Just watching. I'm sure we can go back to this footage, but Earnhardt just about wrecked off of 4 that time. He had his hands full.
Johnson leads, Biffle second. And to follow up on Allen's story, Kyle Busch right now 24th of the 28 cars on the lead lap. Biffle was first, runs second. More from Dave.
And that's where he finished last year here, Bill, with the very same race car. Crew chief Doug Richard told me this morning, you know, we got a little off on fuel sequence last year, and that hurt us. Well, they're on everybody's fuel sequence now, and unfortunately, that means, as in most people, they can't make it to the end. So we'll have to be down pit road again, but one of Greg's favorite race cars.
Now there's Earnhardt. Now here's what
that was going on, yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back and see if we can see what Wally was talking about.
Gets up on the high side, just watch him. It's loose, saves it. Loose, loose. I mean, he caught that thing 3 or 4 times. He lost a few spots. And this is all about 150, 160 miles per hour. Matt, he hung on, but it looks like he's got his hands full.
Looked like he was riding the cushion at Paducah, the dirt track he owns in Kentucky. Now, he's been saying the car has been loose pretty much on exit the last half of the race, but in the fuel department, that's another area where they're short between 5 and 6 laps, like a lot of other Chevrolets in the field. They joked, except maybe the Childress cars. They're probably good on a green-white checker.
I'm not sure we've seen the last of our cautions.
At this point, if we were to stop now, everyone would be inside their fuel window.
Right.
But you're predicting they might get another opportunity to come to pit road.
That's
under the
prediction.
We'll see what happens. Jimmy Johnson, a car so strong you could drive it through a Kansas cornfield. He's the leader in Kansas City. Under green, an unscheduled stop for one of our championship chasers. Denny Hamlin headed to pit road. Has to go all the way down toward turn 1. Was reporting a vibration, Alan.
Yeah, usually a vibration means a wheel left loose or something on a pit stop. They're going to check it out thoroughly, but what a day it's been for Hamlin. Started 25th, raced up into the top 10 at lap 146, got tagged for speeding on a pit stop, sent to 21st, then spun out at lap 153, went back to 25th, worked his way up to 13th, and now this vibration in this unscheduled pit stop, and he's going to fall way, way back in the finishing order of this race, and that is a tough run for the driver who came in 4th in the championship. We'll have a look at those tires in a second.
Wow, spending a lot of points right there. So we'll keep an eye on Hamlin's situation. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. 54 to go. Let's take you through the field, and here's Mark.
Billy came to pit road as the leader, and the 7 men who went over the wall kept him the leader, and here's those guys who got it done.
Chad Knaus, Rockford, Illinois.
Art Simmons, Newark, Missouri.
Mike Trower, New Hampton, Iowa.
Chris Anderson, Brooksville, Florida.
Ron Malik, Franklin, Wisconsin.
Tim Latiga, Norwich, Connecticut.
Rich Gutierrez, Yorba Linda, California.
Mike Knauer, Cambridge, Maryland.
Matt Clark, North Haven, Connecticut.
It is hard to believe this is a race team that's only had one top 5 since mid-May. That was the win at Indy. He's going for another win today. They are about 7 laps short on fuel. Dave?
Just a little short on fuel as well for Greg Biffle. Remember, they started the day way in the back of the pack, got some track position on pit stops. Always good on the mile-and-a-half. Missed a chase this year, but racing well here at Kansas. Matt?
At the sister track to Kansas, Chicago, Stewart has 1 win, working on another top 5 finish. He has 2 here at the Kansas Speedway. The car still a little too free at the beginning of the run, but just a tick on the free side. AB?
Just before the last pit stop, Jeff Burton told his crew that the 31 car was the best that it's been in this race. Burton up to 4th place now, trying to close in and protect his lead in the championship. Marty?
Alan, last week Carl Edwards finished 2nd at Dover. The last time the 99 team put together 2 top 5s in a row was May. Carl is 4 laps short on fuel. Says he's really loose on the bottom of the racetrack, and that's where he likes to run. That's why he's running the high side, AB.
Well, Casey Kane's team has told him initially off the pit stop to save some fuel. Now they've told him he's good on fuel to the finish, but save them a little where he can. Kane right now running in 6th. Matt?
The goal coming in for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the Bud guys, just put together a consistent, solid day, and that's exactly what they've done. A nice top 10 run going so far. They are about 4 to 6 laps short on fuel, just battling a grip issue like they have most of this race. Meanwhile, the 42 of Casey Mears working on his 2nd top 10 career finish here at the Kansas Speedway. The car not in bad shape at all. Still hasn't led yet today, Dave.
Jeff Gordon currently in 9th, Matt. Talked to crew chief Steve Letard about the fuel situation, said he's about 5 laps short. Now that's pretty close to the margin of error for crew chief's lying to pit reporters. So we'll see. 24 may be close on fuel, but they're going to try to make it if the green stays out.
Dave, good rebound for the guy. Just inside the top 10 running. 10th is Mark Schroep Jr. back on lap 133. Got caught for speeding on pit road. Nice rebound. Just like last week at Dover, they finished top 10, working on their 2nd consecutive top 10 finish. Dave?
What an incredible comeback for Kevin Harvick. At one point today, he was running 34th. Again, they changed the right rear spring, have done several things to this race car. Since they changed that spring though, just 2 air pressure adjustments. Fuel-wise, they're about 5 laps short for making it. But if they win the championship, they'll look back at this day at Kansas that won it for him, Dave.
Mark Martin battling now back in the pack. Car not as he would like it to be, just certainly not racing toward the front. Likes it a lot better, just not as much speed as he needs to try to win here today, Alan.
Well, Kyle Busch trying to dig out of the hole that pit road speeding penalty put them in just a little while ago. Dropped from 2nd to 28th at lap 197. He's got 48 laps to try and move up from 16th as far to the front as he can, Dave.
Way back to 27th, we find Matt Kenseth. They have worked very hard on this race car. They actually moved the axle of the race car a little bit forward. They adjusted the toe of the race car. Matt radioed back. He said, well, I can't think of anything more. We haven't changed on this 17. Just trying to maintain where they are and not lose any more points today, Bill.
Thanks, Dave. Denny Hamlin, the other chaser, currently scored in the 29th position, 1 lap down. Jimmy Johnson's season began with a win in the Daytona 500. He has not led the most laps in a race this season, but he could lead the most important one today.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Still under green here at Kansas. Only 41 laps to go. Then we move on to Alabama. One word, Talladega. Next Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time on NBC. That's what Benny's been saying to himself all weekend. Talladega, Talladega. And he'll be back with us next Sunday. The wild card in the chase for the Nextel Cup Championship. Jimmy Johnson continues to pile up those laps. Marty, he'd love to get those 5 extra bonus points for leading the most laps.
He'd love to get the maximum points he can today, being where they are in the championship standings. And things are happening around him on the racetrack. The guys behind him are starting to slow down a little bit, trying to save some fuel. Jack Knaus just radioed to Jimmy, listen, we're 7 laps short. Don't worry about saving fuel for us. We got to go as hard as we can go for as long as we can go.
See how that works out. Hey, Dave Burns, you down there?
Hello, Weber.
So tell me more about the 24 and going to the finish on fuel here.
Okay, so this morning, Steve Letarte tells me they can go 64 laps on fuel. Again, we're talking margin of error of what teams will share information-wise with those of us who patrol pit lane. We restarted with, what, 68 to go, I believe?
Right.
So that's a little out of the range, but if he tells me 64, maybe he can go 69.
Okay.
And that may have been the 5 laps or so that accounted for the margin of error. Ohio didn't vote, and therefore 24 could go, Bill, is what I'm thinking.
Okay. So
go ahead.
But so that they may try it.
May try it.
Okay,
correct.
Thank you, sir.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Wow, that's a pretty big gamble.
It sure is.
Trying to race for consistency. You know, I mean, you heard Gordon say it himself. I mean, you want to go for the win if you got the car to do it. But to win this championship, you don't need to win races. The last 8 races. You need to just be consistent. So do they play it safe and come in, or do they go for it?
That's why we watch.
That's why we have Dave in their pit.
That's right. Jimmy Johnson, the race leader. Jeff Burton is moved up to 2nd. Then it's Greg Biffle, Tony Stewart, and Carl Edwards. Inside of 40 to go in the Banquet 400 at Kansas. The 2006 Chase for the Nextel Cup in Kansas. Trouble early. Ryan Newman spins around and 3 chasers get through it. Matt Kenseth off of turn 4. Denny Hamlin in turn 4. Dale Earnhardt Jr. avoiding Dale Jarrett. Those boys have had their hands full today.
Been an exciting day.
Allen.
Well, Bill, tension down here on a lot of these pit boxes is really starting to grow. Imagine these crew chiefs of drivers up in the chase for the Nextel Cup, like Chad Knaus for Jimmy Johnson or Scott Miller for Jeff Burton, running a couple spots behind him. Fuel is very marginal to the finish if they don't see a caution flag. What do you do? You might have heard the report that Jimmy Johnson has to stop for fuel. Do you try and save fuel and stretch it and steal a win? Do you stop and maybe finish 20th if somebody can go to the finish on fuel? So these crew chiefs, if we don't see a caution flag, are really beginning to grind on this decision that they're going to face in the final 10 laps of this race.
That's the battle for 4th. Greg Biffle and Carl Edwards. Biffle has it. Edwards going to try and take it away. 30 laps to go. We have one more commercial break to get in. Going to duck it in right here. Then we'll take you to the finish. If anything breaks out, we'll break in. You're watching NASCAR on NBC.
Like that, but Johnny goes.
Jeff Gordon, the 4-time series champion, has just coasted the pit road under green. Dave Burns is there.
They've been talking about fuel pressure, Bill. The car will turn over, but it doesn't appear it has any fuel getting to it. They're putting fuel in just to make sure they didn't actually run themselves out of fuel. But Jeff feels like maybe there's something on the front of that motor that would turn the fuel pump, the cam leading to it. Now it's turned over. So the motor fuel starved. And apparently with fuel, it'll roll. 17 on pit road as well. That car was so tight, Matt said we may as well work on it and move on. And now Jeff Gordon's still on pit road. He's complaining, no fuel. The motor will not receive the fuel that they put in. Big trouble for Jeff.
Get it, guys. See what you got. I know there's fuel in it, Jeff. I know there is. Get to the motor.
He shouldn't be out of fuel.
No, he shouldn't be out of fuel.
No longer turning the fuel pump, buddy. I'm sure that's probably what it is.
It's exactly just like Steve said. There's something wrong. Something's wrong there. It's not turning the fuel pump and it's not getting
fuel in it. Trying to better understand. There's a whole can of fuel in it.
24 laps to go.
Might be a fuel pump failure itself. Johnny, let's get ready to change the fuel pump. Somebody open the hood and see if the fuel pump's hooked up. See if the fuel lines are hooked up.
Jimmy Johnson continues to lead by 5 seconds over Jeff Burton. You can see a variety of Hendrick teams and Hendrick-related teams helping down there. That's how Jeff Gordon got back to pit road. He got a push from Terry Labonte. Gordon's car stalled on the front stretch. He talked to his crew, tried to nurse the car back. Then Terry Labonte pushed Gordon's car, which is legal, back to pit road. Now Gordon behind the wall, 23 laps to go. Right now Gordon is 7 laps down in 38th. Dave?
And again, the problem stems from not getting fuel to the motor. There is fuel in the tank. The tank is in the trunk of the car. Lines lead all the way through the car up to the front of the car, but it's got to be pumped with a fuel pump up to the motor. If that fails, the motor doesn't get any fuel. There's a fuel log in there that holds the fuel to the carburetor. If there's something amiss there, that can be an issue. And there's fuel to the carburetor. That's a good thing, but you need it there constantly. Big trouble for these guys. They're trying to analyze it here just behind pit road. And with some 30 laps left, only or less than that now, trying to see if they can at least patch this thing and get Jeff back on the track. But it sounds like it's not taking any fuel at all, guys.
Thanks, Dave. Stay on top of that for us. Jimmy Johnson, his teammate, continues to lead 5.3 seconds in front of Jeff Burton. You look at the championship standings with 21 laps to go. Tony Stewart is third, then it's Edwards and Earnhardt.
Look at all the spots. Jeff Gordon went from second, just a few laps to go before the problem, to 8th in the standings.
Jimmy Johnson has clinched the 5 bonus points for leading the most laps. Johnson has a top 5 finish at every Cup track except Kansas. 6th here a year ago. 10th is his best finish in the last 7 races this season. Just 1 top 5 in the last 16 races. The guy he's talking about, that was his win at Indy. Comes in here with 4 straight finishes outside the top 10. That's the leader. Burton second. This is for third. Stewart, Edwards, and Earnhardt Jr. Joe Nemechek in that 0-1 car, 1 lap down.
Junior pulls right up. 99 is going to try to take it to the low side.
Wants the position and the points right now.
I think he'd rather have that high groove too. Don't think his car's working down on the bottom.
And Carl knows that, right?
Well, if, you know, Carl, if he does, that's where he's going to keep it, is up on the top, because he knows it'll be hard for Junior to make that pass if his car's not working good on the bottom.
Again, most of these cars cannot make it to the finish. They're gonna need a splash of fuel, Dave.
And Greg Biffle wishes he could get a lot more. That car has lost the handle. 2 right side tires for Biffle, as well as a splash of fuel.
17 laps to go. Last round of pit stops came under the caution at lap 196. Literally on the edge of the fuel window.
Yeah, probably the right thing to do. I mean, if you know Biffle's going to come and get tires early, you know you can't make it, so get it done.
Right. Update on the 20 from Matt.
Tony Stewart running third, the first car in line that's not in the chase, and they are rolling the dice for the win. They told Smoke they're about a lap short. They could pit and go 2 tires or just a splash of fuel, or he can try to save it himself. He says, I will stay out, I'll take care of it myself. Right now, just trying to hold on to that 3rd spot and see what transpires in front of him with the 31 and 48. Marty?
Matt, when he gets into the corners, Carl Edwards is running the Darlington line. He's almost all the way up to the wall. The problem is his car is tight. And a lot of times when you have a tight race car, you tend to use more fuel. They're about 4 laps short on fuel. They've asked Carl to do all he can do. He said, I've gotten doing all I can do to try and keep up with this 20 right in front of me, Matt.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. just broke radio silence and says, "We are running for a championship. Do not let me run out of gas." They said 10-4, pit now. He makes his way all the way down pit road, a long pit road. You can see the damage still on that nose of the race car. They have chased the handling, but this is the kind of run they've had today that they've needed in the first 2 chase races. They felt like they squandered some opportunities. They wanted to come to Kansas. They felt like actually Kansas and Homestead were the 2 tracks left that they had some concerns about in the chase itself. He hasn't won a restrictor plate race since 2004, but they're hoping for good things next week when they go to the newly repaved Talladega.
See how this works out. 14 to go. Be very surprising to see if any of these, be very surprised to see if anyone can make it to the finish without stopping for fuel. Dave, you got some company down there?
Yeah, I do. Jeff's going to go in and cool off in the hauler for just a minute. We'll hope to get a word from him, but actually he's going to sit down on the bench, so we'll step in here right now and see if we can get a quick word with him. His Dr. Scott is going to help him out as well. One of the things that Jeff talked about while he was sitting on pit road there was overheating in the car. So Jeff, we know you're worn out from that, but talk about the fact that fuel not getting to the motor and the disappointment here.
It's very disappointing. I mean, you know, we know what those other guys feel like now at Hendrick Motorsports. You know, we're just going to have to fight really hard. It was a great fight today. Then we really came up through there, and I don't know, we lost the handling a little bit on the car. I don't know if the track changed or tires or what happened to us, but you know, we were still going to salvage a pretty decent finish, and going into turn 3, engine just cut off. I switched the boxes, all the normal stuff, and then I noticed there's no fuel pressure and couldn't find out what was wrong, so we're done.
You also know in the back of your mind that you can still win this championship.
Oh yeah, but that's not what I want. You know, I mean, I'm just upset right now. Is, you know, I want to know what happened, and you know, I want to get out of here and move on and go to Talladega and see what happens from there.
Okay, that's Jeff Gordon. Marty?
Dave, it was a very quick stop for Kevin Harvick's team. They decided to take 2 tires because Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s team took 2 tires. It was an air pressure adjustment. Harvick's car is too loose. Now he has the fuel to go to the finish.
Thanks, Marty, and thank you, Dave. 11 to go. You're sitting in that car just wondering, am I going to get to pit road in time or am I going to run out?
Well, which car?
This one. Pick
this
one.
one, yeah. well, I mean, you know, Stewart, those guys are close enough. I mean, if you're within a lap and you're in Stewart's position, he's got nothing to lose. I mean, what the heck? He's not running for a championship, so absolutely you go out there and, you know, save some fuel and try to steal a win. Jimmy Johnson, on the other hand, I'd be pretty nervous because you can't run out of fuel. You run out of fuel and I think you're really cautious. So, again, it's just what frame of mind do you want to be in? Do you want to play this thing? You're going for a championship. So you play it safe and go for a top 10, then you need to come in and put gas in it.
Marty, what do you know?
Jimmy was asked about that earlier this week, guys. He said, we have no other strategy than to go out and get the maximum amount of points that we can. And they have at no point during this run told Jimmy, save fuel. They told him, go as hard as you can go. We're going to be short on fuel. We're going to take fuel and a gas and go at the end. AB?
Here comes the championship leader, Jeff Burton. He was told about 20 laps ago by his crew chief, Scott Miller, they were going to be short on fuel. Miller said, but everyone else is going to be too. I know of at least one top 10 team down this end of pit road that will try to make the checkers without stopping, and that's Casey Kane's team. They've got nothing to lose. They're 9th in points. A splash of fuel and right side tires, though, for the championship leader, Burton, and they'll see where it shakes out on the track. They could not take the chance as the point leader.
At the beginning of the day, Wally Dallenbach talked about how this track is very similar to Chicagoland Speedway. In that race, Matt Kenseth got spun out late in the race by Jeff Gordon. But after that, something a lot of people have forgotten is that Kenseth ran out of fuel. So fuel mileage now a factor at Kansas City, just like Chicago. This was a moment ago.
Now 99 go down underneath the 20 of Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart came down the racetrack like he didn't know he was there. A little bit of contact was made, but could have been big.
7 laps to go. Jimmy Johnson leads. Among the chasers, Casey Kane is 5th. Mark Martin is 6th. Kyle Busch in 8th. Jeff Burton has scored an 11th, Earnhardt Jr. 12th, Kevin Harvick 18th, Hamlin, Kenseth, and Gordon outside the top 20.
Yes, let's do it. Inside, inside.
Carl Edwards to pit road for fuel. Marty?
This has been an outstanding run for Carl Edwards. We thought that the hometown hero would be Clint Boyer today. It's going to be gas and go only for Carl Edwards, and a terrific day when they didn't think they would be so good. He hits pit road running third. Jimmy Johnson's coming to pit road, and there's a spin as Casey Kane tries to make it to pit road, Bill.
He spun coming off of turn 4, trying to get to pit road. Now he's trying to creep through the grass to get to his pit stall. Now another Evernham team coming out to try and get him restarted and push him down pit road.
He stalled the car,
Billy,
but he may be out of fuel.
That's right, Wally. He's out of fuel. They were not planning on coming down, and apparently the fuel pressure bobbled. The crew got up on the wall, and then Casey spun out, coming to pit road. He asked if he could stop in Jeremy Mayfield's pit, but his crew chief told him that's not legal. Mayfield's crew trying to push him down here as you see Jimmy Johnson hit the pit road. Marty?
And that may have drastically hurt what Jimmy Johnson was trying to do. He was slowing, coming to pit road. He saw Casey Kane spin out. He decided to go back on the racetrack. He lost many seconds doing that. They hit pit road because of that. Now they feel like they have to take on 2 right side tires. Originally, it was going to be fuel only. It's a quick stop. The question is, how much track position did they lose?
So Johnson was heading for pit road and saw the 9 spin.
Yeah, he saw the 9 spin, then he turned hard right, went back up on the racetrack because he didn't know where the 9 was going to wind up, and he was hoping the caution would come out.
Tony Stewart is the race leader. Here's Casey Kane coming to pit road.
Boy, that thing just swapped ends quickly.
Now Kane getting the fuel, Allen.
Yeah, just trying to restart it now. You see them working up by the opening on the hood. Finally, they've got enough fuel up into the carburetor to get it started, but because they're in the first stall on pit road, they don't have far they can push it. They're already being shut off by the official there, and now he's got it going. Oh, boy, what a mess.
Been a lot of points there.
Stewart is just backing off, isn't he, Matt? I think he's running half throttle right now.
Greg Zipadelli told him, you got to slow down at least another 3/10 a lap for me. Just work with me on this. He's letting cars go by to try to pick up a draft off of them.
Go ahead and bring her down pit road here.
Jimmy Johnson too fast exiting pit road.
Oh, gee. And Stewart's got a 17-second lead on Casey Mears, who runs second right now.
And Mark Martin runs third. From a car he said was terrible early in the race, now third. Can he get to the finish? We work the final lap. Stewart down the backstretch.
He looks like he's out of fuel.
Should be quite a few more of them running out.
Stewart's out.
Can he coast around in time? Had that 17-second lead. Casey Mears is the second place car. Stewart slow through turn 4. Trying to reach the finish line.
It looks like Casey Mears is out of fuel now.
Casey Mears slow in turn 3. Tony Stewart's going to take the checker flag and coast across the finish line and win.
That's unbelievable.
There's Mears. Tony Raines is out of fuel. Mears gets second place.
He just came on the radio and Bill said, where did we finish? And they started screaming, you just won on fuel mileage for the first time.
Unofficially, Mark Martin third, Dale Jarrett fourth, Jeff Burton fifth. A number of cars very slow on the backstretch. There's Denny Hamlin. He's probably going to push Stewart around. You said there are 33 guys in this race that only have one thing to race for.
Yep.
The win.
The win. And that's exactly what Stewart did, and great finish for Casey Mears as well.
Chevrolet congratulates Tony Stewart in the number 20 Monte Carlo SS on another great Team Chevy victory. 25 of the last 34 NASCAR manufacturers championships and counting. Chevy, an American revolution. To Matt Yoakum.
A big hug by Jason Shapiro, the car chief for Greg Zipadelli. You finally won one on fuel mileage. Congratulations, man.
You have no idea over the last 8 years how many we've lost. Smoke's driving style, you know, he'll work that throttle like probably nobody else does, but that's what makes him so good at a lot of these racetracks. And today we did everything right. We were close. We probably cut it a little too close, but I don't think he quite understood when I told him we had 18 seconds. He thought I was telling him that somebody was coming, but he's proud of this team. We had a really good car all day, probably a third or fourth place car, and we're able to steal one. We've given plenty of them up this way, so I'm proud of these guys.
And you put it in his hands as far as the decision.
Yeah, I just wanted to be honest with him and said, if you're okay with it, that's what I want to do. If you'd like to come and try and get a good finish, then that's what we got to do. But that's what we need to do right now.
Their third win of the season in 2006. Marty?
Well, Mark Martin had to lay down on the ground after an exhausting day here in Kansas. At one point, you said this was the worst race car you'd sat in, Mark, but somehow you finished third out of that.
Pat Tryson and AAA team just fought for this one. We had to run slow there at the end, but we got a good finish. We had to run gas mileage. But these guys worked hard, and it worked out. I'm real proud of these guys. We're still in this thing. We're going to fight it to the end.
An exhausted Mark Martin finishes third. Matt?
And Casey Mears, second place finish. When did it start to cough and run out of gas, Case?
Right after I took the white, I had to start shaking it, and we had just enough fuel where it just ran out going into 3. It picked up just a little bit again to cross the start-finish line, but that was all these guys here. I mean, we've been harping on the engine shop bad to give us some good fuel mileage, and they responded. And one thing that we did too is right away, that was Donnie's plan. You know, as soon as we started that run, he just said, save me all the fuel you can, and we're saving from lap 1, and that's what really helped us, and just what this Texaco Haviland Dodge team really needed. I mean, these guys work really hard, and for the hard work they put in, the finishes that we've been having lately, they just don't deserve it, and it feels good to come home with a good finish.
The Mears gang second in Kansas. Marty?
Well, Matt, I think with 10 to go, Jeff Burton was running second, and somehow you come out of this thing with a 5th. Have you ever seen a crazy finish like that, Jeff?
Yes, I have. I was afraid it was going to be worse than that. I was afraid that we were going to end up 15th or 20th or something. I hate those fuel mileage things, but you know, my guys did a great job today. We had a really good car. Again, it was good when it needed to be. We started breaking even with or gaining on Jimmy just a little bit. And on a day like today, that's saying a lot because Jimmy was by far the best car. So real proud of everybody on Team Singular. We had a good day today. We ran well, and I'm proud of I'm proud of our day.
Talking about a good day, he holds on to his championship lead. Bill?
Unofficially, by 69 points, Jeff Burton is the championship leader. Tony Stewart's in victory lane, and Alan Bestwick is there.
And normally we catch that moment where the driver gets out of the car. Tony said, it's hot, I'm out. But he's here in victory lane, and probably one of the quieter entrances to victory lane we've seen in a long time. All right, Smoke, tell me about that last lap.
It's pretty quiet. They sound really quiet when they're dead stick like that, but we came off of turn 2 and it went flat for good, and I just shut it off so we weren't holding the motor and letting the motor pull it down, and kicked it in neutral and just sat there and watched to see where the leaders were. So just awesome call by Zippy, and the guy beside him here, Bob Nardelli, the CEO of Home Depot, he's been at all 3 of these races since we missed the chase, and that's the support we get from Home Depot and all the associates, and got to thank them. And man, what an awesome weekend. 4th in the Busch race yesterday, 2nd at Knoxville last night, and win this thing today. So awesome weekend for us.
How long and how were you saving fuel in the later part of that race?
That's the hardest daggone thing to do when you got Carl Edwards and Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind you. It's hard to make yourself slow down to save fuel, but we were just trying to lift early and not use brakes and just let it roll in the corner. So the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS was awesome. So I got to thank Chevy. They've been doing an awful lot to help us out here lately, and can't do it without those guys.
Well, he said he's in this chase now to win races. He's done it today. And Tony Stewart. Dave?